Let's start episode 194 of the Current Gen podcast. My name's Tim. I'm here with Dan, Jeff, and Kyle. Good evening, gentlemen, especially Kyle with the cardigan and the button-up shirt. Why am I so underdressed tonight? What's happening?
I just came from going out on the prowl. Okay, so
Got
that's
it.
what I look like right now.
Got it. Yeah. That's good.
I
Wish I
got
had a
to
sense of
capitalize
style.
on women with a daddy issue, so I dress with
Dude,
cardigans. And
I like
Brilliant.
it a lot.
Brilliant.
It actually makes me
Okay.
like it's super cozy, and I'm super on board with it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about Super Mario RPG and a couple of the new games that are out this week. Most importantly, we're going to talk about how our predictions went because the nominees for the Game Awards have been announced, and Jeff kindly tracked them for us, and he's going to take us through how we did. So let's kick it off with that. We made some nominations. I think it was 2 episodes ago, and then the awards were announced this past Monday. So how did we do? Do you have the?
I do. Yeah, I highlighted it and color coded it, and like
Let's pull it up here.
put
Did
the
you
math
laminate
in
it?
there.
Did you laminate it?
Just a reminder to the listeners, we only did what we consider the main. I can't do math. 7. So we were gonna do just 7 or 6
7 category.
and then
Yeah.
I was like, hey, let's do best indie. That because I mean, it was a good year for it, and it's a good time to talk about it.
Yeah.
So it's 7 total categories. So it's like
Okay.
game of the year, best narrative, best game direction, best art direction, which is that's a different thing, brother. Best score and music, best performance, and like I said, best indie.
All right.
Yeah. So
why don't you give us right away who was best at predicting this year? Who?
it was Resident Cheater. It was Kyle. Kyle nailed it this year.
Of course, it was Kyle.
It's always me. What can I say?
It's always me.
I would say I'm surprised, but I'm not.
Actually, I was I was kind of like, how did he see that one coming? I think there was one that all of us missed except for you. I think it was your best performance. You got all of them. And best indie, you got all of them. Whereas like, Dan, Tim, and I were kind of like, maybe they're gonna nominate this thing.
Yeah.
Tim with Videoverse and Dan with Oxenfree 2, and I was over here going Slay the Princess and Talos Principle 2.
And Kyle's like, no, guys, it's Dave the Diver, Dredge, and Sea of Stars.
The
They're
most obvious
ones. They're the most
Yeah,
obvious. Like,
right, yeah. I wasn't
The
getting
most
cute with
obvious
any of my
one.
stuff this year. Yeah.
I was
But he
getting
got-
cute.
The fact that you got the Baldur's Gate 3 one, because that game had potential to do what was it God of War Ragnarok that had 2 nominations last year?
Uh-huh.
Maybe even 3, I don't remember. But the
Yeah.
point is that there were several great performances in that game. So you nailed Astarion,
for
you got that right.
performances. Yeah.
Yeah.
That one.
And-
I
and,
felt confident about that one. Yeah.
Intent with Shadowheart. So we were dead ass wrong.
wrong.
She's the internet waifu, so I understand
Yeah.
I understand
well,
wanting to
because
get
we-
that one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Won.
We do realize that if you weren't one of the 6 nominated, you were awful at your voice acting.
Yeah,
role. That's
yeah.
how this
Yeah,
works.
if you
Exactly.
weren't nominated,
That's
it's
what I
because
mean.
you sucked. That's
'Cause it's
kinda what I
awful.
got from
Bad.
it, yeah.
Nothing
that-
matters except what Jeff Keighley wills it to be.
That's
It's
true.
all
Right.
whatever Jeff Keighley
It's
says.
true.
Well, it looks like
You know,
actually Kyle and Jeff, you guys, your worst category was the same with score and music for both of you
Yeah, honestly,
in predictions at least.
I think I marked one wrong that should have been right.
The nominations for music
my
were a
bad.
little whack.
Oh,
That's
so
for
Final
sure.
Yeah.
Fantasy 16 was correct. Okay, but you guys
Yeah,
still
Final
got 2
Fantasy
other
16
ones
was
wrong.
correct for
Yeah.
me. I messed that up.
Yeah.
But I still think my score was 16 because I missed something elsewhere. Anyway, so like Final Fantasy 16 makes a ton of sense. I think we all were like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
obviously that's like what the games are known for. Super Mario Brothers Wonder, what the hell? Like that was like the thing about the game that was like so freaking amazing to
Yeah.
me, other than the visuals. And then Hogwarts Legacy got a Grammy and couldn't secure a Game Awards nomination. That's insanity
Yeah.
to me.
Jeff,
Like,
Jeff, don't
Again,
don't
I
use the
think we know
Grammys as a
why.
benchmark
Yeah.
for anything.
I'm just saying
that's
musicians know better, apparently.
happening. Yeah, that's
But again, I think within the game industry, I think we know why. Because did it get any Did it get anything?
it got shut out completely.
So,
And what's
think
frustrating
we-
is, if you look on the internet,
I'm just
If you
now
look-
catching up, but yes.
Yeah.
if you look on the internet, you would be convinced by comments, if you were that type of person, to that the Hogwarts Legacy was actually a mid game anyway. It wasn't that good anyway.
Oh, idiots.
Which is
Yeah.
such BS.
That's weird. Yeah, that a game would sell 1 billion units and
Yeah.
somehow just be mids.
I'm
Right.
even in like the Harry Potter subreddit, and like somebody was like, I can't believe this was shut out, and all the comments were like, honestly, wasn't that good. I'm like, you guys are so full of it. This is all you were posting
Well, 6
about
months
for
have
months.
passed, so it's old news now. So
Exactly, old
Dude.
news.
That's
Yeah, that was
that's the
surprising.
same.
No
That's the same as
Starfield
like an
either.
actually, like an honestly. This take is the same thing as like an actually. Like it's the same vibe. It's the same vibe.
it was pretty mid.
No,
Oh yeah, it only averaged mid 80s.
Yeah,
reviews,
it only
and-
did
yeah.
extremely well for like a first game from a studio. Like
Yeah.
it was
And
like
people
one of
who love Harry Potter, for the most part, who still love Harry Potter, who haven't decided that they're turning their shoulder to it. I get it, but people who
Yeah.
still enjoy Harry Potter, at least everyone that I know of, loved the game.
Well,
Like,
and
it's like,
according to the
yes.
sales numbers, everybody still loves Harry
I know.
Potter. So
It's like,
yeah,
I
all these
saw the
people who
numbers
are
and I was like,
posturing
is
that they're
this
not
a
watching
Switch game?
anymore. Why'd you buy the game
They're-
then? Because you
yeah,
did. I have
they're
the
doing the thing where they say
statistics.
publicly
you
they're not
did.
doing this, and then they go offline to play this game. Basically, that's
Yeah,
what
man,
it is.
it's sold like a
I don't know
Switch
if I
game.
buy
It was
that
crazy.
one.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was interesting that Zelda got nominated. I mean, I trust you guys that the music was superb in that game. So
It
but
usually
it was
always
still
is,
like,
but the last two Zeldas have been very ambient instead
Yes.
of like.
Yeah.
that's how I described
yeah.
what I played too, but I only didn't play that much.
But
so,
there are moments like in a boss fight where the music like will swell up, and you're like, oh, this is why we're
Yeah, when
here.
you're exploring, it's very ambient, and then like when a fight starts, it's just this really weird like tinkering on the piano, like up in the higher notes a little bit. It's kind of like interesting the way it comes in, but then
It's playful.
it's mostly like the
It's kinda
main boss fights, and then
Yeah.
those big epic cutscenes. That's when you really get the full
But
force.
if a music is supposed to capture like a tone or a vibe or whatever, boy, I tell you, that game definitely does that. So
It does it.
I was just surprised because like Mario Wonder is, and I know the award is not most music, like there's a lot of music.
I would
going on
love
in the
that
game.
award.
yeah,
I know.
Most music.
Most
it would
music.
probably still be Zelda. There's like 1,000 tracks in that game. So
True.
yeah,
Well, like Mario Wonder is like
it
you know,
is.
to a musician like convoluted tracks where they're like, how are they thinking of this? Like, ooh,
Yeah,
look at all this
yeah.
jazz and
It's
rock
very
going on at the
unique.
same time,
Yes.
and like it's
really good.
interesting. I don't know. I was very disappointed. That was my biggest disappointment. I guess I should throw out numbers so we all know what the order is. But like Kyle got the highest with 18 out of 21.
Yeah.
I came in second at 16. I'm such a failure. I'm sorry, mom and dad. You could turn this
Sorry,
off.
mom and dad.
'Cause they
You're
listen
dead
to
to
this.
us, Jeffrey.
They are
Your
dedicated.
parents are actually adopting me now. That's actually just got a text from them.
That's why you're
Okay.
dressing so nice. Okay.
Yeah, that's for the adoption signing. Yeah.
Tim,
Extra
That's
points.
amazing.
Tim came in third with 15, and Dan had 14, and I think we all know why. Goes with his heart. I respect it.
I mean, I ultimately just don't give a shit about these things.
That's true. Yeah,
I
you
didn't
don't.
either, and
You
I
only
still
make
win
a 10
every year.
every year,
whatever. I
yeah.
don't do any prep work. I don't give a shit. So
So I assume that in like a week or two, because the award's on the 7th of December, that we'll
yeah, I would love to do a.
we'll do our
guess,
predictions.
because this is the one I don't win. Because like
Yeah,
I don't ever understand why people choose what wins in these. So
Yeah, we'll predict the winners for sure. That'll be.
I'm excited.
Yeah,
about
but
that.
I assume we would want to wait on that.
Yeah.
Just to talk
yeah,
about
yeah, well,
predictions
until
this
it's
week.
a little closer. Yeah.
Yeah.
But just stay tuned for that, everybody. But yeah, did you guys have any like surprises as far as nominations go? I only talked about the one. The snub to me was Mario 1.
Can I talk about real quick the one that shouldn't be on the GOTY listing, which is
Yeah,
Resident Evil 4? Like, you know?
Are you for real?
Yes.
Oh,
I don't know if I agree with that, but yeah.
It's not okay. So let me use this as an example, right? Final Fantasy VII Remake is not a carbon copy of the original, and I'm not saying RE4 Remake is a carbon copy, but it's much closer to the original source material than 7 Remake is.
because it's a
So to
remake
me,
of a
it's
newer
not
game, right?
actually a newer game. Like, so I don't think it should be on there.
It's a little bit
huh.
newer, but not much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay, but what about Resident Evil 2? That got nominated, didn't it, when it came out? And
Yeah.
If it did, then it shouldn't have been on there either.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't agree with that, but I hear what you're saying.
yeah, I think there's a gray area here. I think there's some
By the way,
nuance
two
here.
of us predicted it would be. Kyle and I predicted that would be nominated. So
I mean,
Yeah.
it's yeah.
we were like,
tens,
the
yeah.
industry loves that game, right? The industry is
Yeah,
just
and
Well,
it's from the
Yeah.
ground up, you know. So it's
Yeah.
complete, it is
To be
completely
totally
built from the
fair,
ground up.
like it's on my top 10, and it's fighting to stay up in that really top
Same.
group. Like I
Yeah.
gotcha.
loved
Tooth and
this
nail.
remake. I thought it was like one of the best remakes I've ever played. So this is not at all disparaging the game, but I would not be opposed if we get to our game of the year and there's some strong feelings about like, hey, let's just get rid of all remakes and remasters just to clear the table.
I
I'm not
would
opposed
hear that conversation. Yeah,
to the same.
I would.
That being said, I freaking love it, and to me, it's like completely
It's a great game.
deserving.
Again, I'm just coming at it from like it's not different enough from the original one where it feels like it's not even like the same thing. Like,
what would you have put on there
just
instead, Dan? I'm not sure what else.
Yeah, I don't think there is any other game you could replace it with.
I think clearly a certain 16 game should have been on there. And I know that makes me sound biased. It's like, well, my game didn't, but it's like that's a completely brand new game, you know.
Brand
like,
new
that
game. I get it.
But
True.
You know.
Yeah,
I also
mean,
thought Armored Core 6 would have been a worthy one, and that's I didn't even play it, but I just know it's a FromSoft game. I've seen the love for that game, and I was a little surprised that FromSoft didn't really get anything this year, right? This is one of the first
they got
years
action. They got an action nomination, I think.
Action nominee. Okay.
To Dan's defense, I would absolutely take 16 over Final Fantasy IV, just on the merit alone, where it's like, I mean, it is a completely new idea, you know. So, and it shows up with good music and good combat and good everything across the board.
Story.
So it's like,
agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I just did a Control F on the nominees. Yeah, it's under action, just action.
Okay, so they did get one nomination at least. They weren't totally snubbed.
It better win that too, right? Like, even though I don't know if it's the best action, I don't know if
let's see what else is up there.
That is the category it should win because the rest of the nominees are good.
It didn't get it.
But it's not. It doesn't compare.
So
like Hi-Fi Rush is its biggest competition there.
We got Armored Core 6, Dead Island 2, Ghost Runner 2, Hi-Fi Rush, and Remnant 2. I think Armored Core 6 is the best action game of those, and that's not to say they're not good games. I just think it's the best.
But there's another like gimmick, if you want to use that word, for Hi-Fi Rush that might,
I love
in the voters' mind, disqualify.
I'm not going to be mad about Hi-Fi Rush winning anything, even if it's over a game I like more than. I'm just going to be so happy.
That's how
that was
I'll just take that one.
Surprise, right? That Hi-Fi Rush was not forgotten was the biggest surprise to me.
Yeah.
Wait, so was 16 not on anything besides music, or
no? There was on like 4 or 5 other ones.
Got best narrative.
Okay. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, 16 got nominated for best narrative. It got score and music.
Ben Starr.
It might win narrative. I don't know. I don't know how people are feeling about that stuff.
Yeah, so 4 total.
Okay. I was curious if like they stuck it in RPG but not in action. And I was like, guys, what are you doing? Like,
well, see, and whenever they do that, I always think it's because like, they're setting that one up to win. Then if it got snubbed in an obvious category, they put it in another category to win.
Yeah, but now it's going up against Baldur's Gate 3 and best role playing. It's not going to win that one.
No, I mean Baldur's Gate is obviously the best role playing game of the year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was actually kind of surprised at some of the mixture of action. Well, action made sense. Action, adventure, and role playing. Like when they put Sea of Stars, I would not have put as a role-playing game. I don't know. I know that it's turn-based and there's some stuff you're equipping to make yourself stronger.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's just more role-playing going on in the other nominees.
I hear what you're saying, but that's what RPGs were.
That's what they were?
30 years ago or 20 years ago. Yeah. That's exactly that to a T is exactly
you're not Chrono Trigger, man. Like that's Chrono Trigger.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about my lack of we're going to further go into my lack of nostalgia for that. So I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, that makes sense. That was the only one that I was like, huh? And even Final Fantasy, if you wanted to extend the same logic, it's mostly you're just equipping different things to make yourself stronger. That's pretty much it. But that's an old school RPG thing to do. So
you're taking turns in Sea of Stars based off of like the speed stat, essentially. So like you're kind of going
speed stat.
Yeah.
Well, like you know, I'm putting it in like simple terms, but like if like my speed is 50 and the enemy speed's like 45, I'm gonna go first in the roster of turns. So I'm kind of saying like for a traditional
stats,
RPG,
stats dictate like turn order. Turn
I got
order,
you. Are you talking about like invisible stats that are going on in the background or whatever? Because these are things I don't
dice
see.
Rolls,
Invisible dice rolls. I got you. Okay. I follow.
One that I thought, and listen, I know there's a lot of good games this year, so it's hard to give everything an equal amount of love. I totally understand that. It'll be a challenge for us as well. I just thought Jedi Survivor got overlooked. Like I love that. Yeah. I love that Cameron Moynihan got nominated for the
two
performance.
Nominations. Yeah.
I thought that was awesome, and then it got nominated for was it narrative? No, what was the other one?
Action adventure. So it's not going to win because that's
because it's up against it's
Spider-Man and Alan
Spider-Man,
Wake 2.
And Legend of Zelda. You really hate Zelda a lot. Legend of Zelda.
I'm sorry.
I will not recognize it.
I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. But it's up against 3 Game of the Year nominees. No, 4.
Yeah.
It's the only non-Game of the Year nominee. Because
wouldn't it be weird if it won that one though?
Yeah, because
it's just like again like. What?
Okay, let's just say we get to the game of the year, right? And let's just say it's Baldur's Gate 3. So all 4 of these action adventure games don't win game of the year, but then they also lose their action adventure category to Jedi Survivor. That will
by the end of this award season, we're all going to be like, I don't know how I feel about any of these awards, but I don't know if anyone's going to be particularly like
and
thrilled.
Actually, like if anything, that one is the one that's like, this is Zelda's category, guys. This is the one we for sure give it a win in. Like,
I think
could
Zelda
be
gets
up for
snubbed
grabs.
across the board this year.
Zelda might get snubbed, man.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
I think it does.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think it's the Breath of the Wild bug. We'll get to our predictions when you know at that time. But I actually
also we touched on it for a second, but Hi-Fi Rush getting like I think 5 nominations is
amazing.
like just
Huge.
magical. Like I just love that game so much, and I'm ecstatic over it getting so heavily.
To me, that's Jeff Keighley and the board of whoever votes all this stuff in going, hey, bigger companies should do smaller projects. You know, man, this, obviously this worked out really well for them. Let's put a big spotlight on it.
And I looked at all the screen grabs again of like the art direction just to make sure I wasn't crazy. Like, does this look as good as it?
It's so good.
I remember.
Yeah.
Nothing else
could
looks
win.
like it.
It could
It's so
win.
unique.
Like,
and it's
this
smooth.
category.
The animation is not just like screenshots look nice.
Yeah.
Like it's animated really smoothly. It's a good game.
Yeah.
It's a really good game.
It's an excellent game. Yeah.
Some of the other ones that I just want to at least mention got nominated that aren't going to get all the love in the world, but I love that Lies of P got an art direction nomination. I might not have picked it as the top 5 of the year. I just liked that it got recognition somewhere, and it has great artwork.
Yeah, because you and Derek talked about how cool that looked. So
the design is amazing in that game. So even if it's not my personal top 5 of visuals, because it probably isn't when it's all said and done, but that's okay. I like that it got the recognition. Here. Narrative, I like that Phantom Liberty got mentioned because that's a game I'm currently because I finished the main game. I'm jumping into the DLC, and so that's cool to me that they were like, "Hey,
so happy.
This is such a significant DLC. Wow. The way CDPR does their thing, we're gonna nominate it."
This is the Cyberpunk year because 2021 they couldn't. The Game Awards probably felt they couldn't view themselves as credible if they gave Cyberpunk 2077 some sort of nomination after its launch. Its launch being so problematic or whatever. But I'm just saying that they didn't have a lot of nominations if they did have any. But this year they have like 4. So that's awesome. Like, I mean, and if anything, they nominated them in like ongoing game just to give them the award because I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. Like,
Yeah. I think that's a shoo-in for that.
Yeah.
You're crazy if you don't choose that one. Yeah.
Exactly.
But it's going up against some heavy hitters between Baldur's Gate 3, which has 1 million story threads in it, which in and of itself is impressive with how all the different narratives.
I think that's why.
And then you've got 3 other games with very strong singular linear narratives with Final Fantasy 16, Spider-Man 2, and Alan Wake 2 that are telling a very deliberate story.
Yeah, that's why I think it wins.
That's a tough one.
That's why I think it wins best ongoing game and it loses narrative, even though I don't know. It
might
really
be the
strong.
best story.
It might be the best story.
We can't forget that people love the weird crap rightfully so in my opinion, the weird crap in Alan Wake 2. That it could win narrative, it could win.
Yeah,
it could win
nearly everything but GOTY, basically. I mean, in my opinion, but like it could win everything else that is nominated for at this point.
Let me ask you this about Game of the Year: could this be a year where there's too many people split over like Tears of the Kingdom, Baldur's Gate, and something like Alan Wake 2?
That's what I joked about that last week. Yes. Yeah, where the vote
it just slides in.
So like,
if their panel does like a rank. Like scoring ranking, it's the kind of thing that could win by like 2 points because it got everyone's second place pick or something.
I have a great comparison. This is a less offensive comparison. Is this is a less offensive version of Shakespeare in Love winning Best Picture because there were 2 amazing war movies out at the same exact time.
Gladiator?
No, it was Thin Red Line.
Thin Red Line.
Yeah, Thin Red Line and Saving Private Ryan.
Okay, yeah.
The Academy
was obviously a better movie out of those 2 as well.
There is.
The fact that there was a split between those 2 is so insane to me.
I know. I agree with you completely.
People love Terrence Malick. I don't. Whatever. It's too little for me. Like there's too little going on in those movies.
He's too small of a man. That's what I heard you just say just now.
He's too little of a man. He's a small man. He probably is. He's probably like 5'4".
Small man. He's a small man.
man.
He's small man.
But it could be that type of scenario where it's like that caused some horrible Shakespeare in Love movie to sneak in and win. It could be that situation.
A movie we don't talk about at all anymore.
No,
we talk about Saving Private Ryan.
The only time it is brought up is to be like, God, that movie sucked. Can you believe it won Best Picture?
Yeah. Anyways, sorry, but had to be said.
the interesting thing about the indie category is it does highlight our struggle, and by our I just mean like people who are in this video games world as a gamer like us, who have our own little amateur podcast, or someone who's like calls it a profession and they make money like reporting on this and talking about this and making these things. I don't think there's a agreed upon definition for indie game. There just isn't. I even asked it in our group, which I realize is a very small sample size, but I've seen conversations broader than our group talking about it.
The specifics I saw in the group too, I'm like, boy, those are really specific.
It's really funny because like sometimes people are like,
like,
this is so easy. It's just when it's self-published. And I'm like, Larian self-published Baldur's Gate 3. I would never...
I mean, that would just like Star Wars is an independent movie, technically, you know, like it would be the same thing where you'd be like, yeah, Larian's an independent studio.
So I understand, like they published it independently of a publisher, but I think they're a big enough size that they are a big publisher. So that's where it gets really tricky. A CDPR, like, are their games indie because they publish their own stuff?
Witcher 3 would have been an indie game, right?
And
like
Cyberpunk, like this. So to me,
I don't agree with that. I don't know about that, dude. That's
all of that. So then when something like Dave the Diver gets nominated because it's owned by a much bigger company, I forget the name of it off the top of my head, doesn't matter. But it's
Nexon, it's got like an evil mustache trolley name.
Yeah,
like Nexon or something like
it
that.
Actually sounds like the name of a sign you'd see in Cyberpunk of an evil corporation.
Yes, yeah.
Sure.
Nexon.
Yeah.
So I understand that there's a lot of like, ew, it's one of those big companies and they made this little game, but I'm like, yeah, but it is as indie as it gets in terms of like look, feel, vibes, the way you play.
Team size too is a detail that they have 20 to 30 people that made that game. You know, so even if they had like $1 million thrown at them,
like,
it's still a really small team, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
Now, on the other hand, I also would be sad for actual indie developers if you have teams of more, you know, a couple hundred with budgets of millions and millions and millions that you don't have in your category, the one place you have to like get recognition. I understand that'd be frustrating.
Right.
So I just feel like there needs to be some kind of shared agreed upon definition for this.
I feel like because the voters are industry people, they're probably already going to know that going in, and that might be a reason they end up going with Sea of Stars or something, which is more like crowdfunded and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The other one, I mean, I think all 5 of these
or
make
Cocoon.
sense.
I don't know. Yeah, every single, even Viewfinder, which I did not see coming, but that get it, see, because it's a visual. But that game is actually really cool. So like that's really cool that it got nominated.
I think it got really high reviews though for the folk. It didn't get many reviews, but I think they were good. The ones that did review it.
Yeah.
So anyway, there you go. There's a bunch of the nominations for the Game Awards. It's always a good time because it generates conversation. It's always, to me at least, of course, on this show, we love to kind of look back and evaluate things. I don't know why. That's just a fun source of conversation. Like even if we were all just hanging out having a burger, I'd still want to talk about like, what was the best of this thing? Like I like to do that.
Let's be nostalgic for this year.
Already, I'm nostalgic for this year that we're currently living in.
Oh, don't worry. Next year's going to be devastating on the wall too. So.
Yeah, it's 2020.
This is just it. This is how it's going to be forever, guys. Like you're just gonna. There's a game every month at least for everybody. And
by the way, I'm glad you said that, Dan, because that brings me to the last one I wanted to ask you guys about. The most anticipated, the 5 nominees are Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Seems like an obvious pick.
That feels like the winner to me.
Star Wars
Just say no more.
Outlaws. Star Wars Outlaws seems like a pretty obvious one.
Yeah.
To put on there. And then there's 3 that I think are much more niche but really interesting. I think there's a lot of hype around them. Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, I think has grown. They've grown their audience. I think that's a bigger release than it would have been 5 years ago. I just think that name has grown. And then Hades 2 and Tekken 8, which I think are interesting picks there, but
Tekken 8 is dumb. I'm not going to say anything about it. That's a stupid pick. Tim's being nice. That's a really dumb pick. There's so many better games coming out next year than Tekken 8. Who gives a shit about Tekken? Like,
I'm so glad when Nice Kyle says this and not me. But yeah,
the cardigan is it's
it's the cardigan.
It's a little off-putting, right?
No, it's not that. It's deceptive. I felt like he was going to say something very nice and advice-worthy, I guess. No,
professors have to give tough love too. Tough advice, you know.
True.
So
have a seat. Why don't you have a seat right here?
Have a seat real quick. Your pick. It's stupid. Sorry.
I have to say that actually when I heard Hades 2, that made the most sense because of how much
Hades.
Game Awards love that game
Hades
so much.
is like huge. You know, it is a small game, but I like a small game made it on there. Again, we were using small game indie, whatever you want to call it.
Hellblade 2 wasn't going to make it on there for like the 5th year in a row. So
no. You know what? No one's allowed to be excited about Hellblade 2 until we see uninterrupted 20 minutes of gameplay. Like that's no one's allowed
what
to
is
be
this?
excited. I'm calling it. We're
And
not
a
allowed to be
release date.
excited
We
about
need a
it.
release date.
It's never coming out. It's
What is
GTA
this
6
angry
coming
Mr.
out
Rogers bit we're doing here? Angry
I
Mr.
like it.
Yeah.
Mr. Rogers. Oh man, I can't wait for somebody to figure out how to do the AI voice of Mr. Rogers and have them be angry and cussing people out all the time. But in his calm tone, I just
I
want
hate kids.
I hate him. I
One
punch
of my
kid,
favorites is when
I think they're
doing-
stupid, and I want to punch them in their face.
He's doing like the names of the fingers, and he gets to the tall man, which is always a great little gif of him flipping off the little kids.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Which
Oh,
he's not.
sorry.
Everyone, relax. All right. All right. There's lots more to talk about with those nominees, and of course the winners in a few weeks. So we'll circle back to that. Thanks, Jeff, for tracking those
Yeah, no problem.
for us.
This
Well done,
is,
Kyle. Kyle wins
It's my
all the
time
games.
of year, man. It's my
I
time
win
of
all the
year. I love-
games. Yeah.
Kyle wins all of our mini games.
I should just become game master because
Pretty much.
you know.
Give the other guys a chance, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. Well, speaking of games, let's talk about some new stuff that's out this week. I do believe all four of us are playing Super Mario RPG in some way, shape, or form. We've at least fired it up, and the game has started, and we pushed some buttons. At the
Dan
very
doesn't want
least.
to talk about it. You triggered him. You left.
Yeah, Dan is out. No, I think Dan's doing something, and I'm excited for. If you're not watching the video, you're about.
He's
to
coming
miss
back as Spider-Man. Oh, are these not the Spider-Man spoilers?
If he comes back as Tingle, I'd be pretty impressed.
That's true. That'd be a quick change, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Also the wrong game, but you know.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Also, if you're watching the video, Dan's got his original Super Nintendo with his copy of Super Mario RPG in the Super Nintendo for us to see. He said that is actually his original.
It belongs in a museum.
Thanks, Indy.
Yeah.
Hey, Indy. Oh.
Yeah.
That belongs. Give me my family back.
Oh,
Hey!
yes. There it is.
All right,
Let's
That
get the
is-
gloves.
It
too, oh
belongs
my
in a
God.
museum. Wahoo! I have the gloves too.
How can I type with these? It's not
I
practical.
love it.
Dan, were you wearing this while playing Mario RPG on your stream?
I was wearing the hat with my suit, Tim. I was
Okay.
suited up
You were
with my
suited
hat.
up.
No
No
mustache, though? Is
stash.
the mustache new?
I thought the stickiness went away, but apparently it's sticking on all right. So
All right, I like it.
I mean, no, I mean this is a real mustache. What am I talking about? This is a
It
real
is.
mustache.
Yeah, you grew it in the last 5 seconds that you were off
Yeah,
screen.
yeah, exactly.
Well done. Well done. Yeah, so Mario RPG is out, and I got to tell you, it is lovely and nostalgic in all the right ways. I think it is so fun to dive back into this. And man, does it still feel like the old game. Like, I feel like I picked up right where I left off, just in the way you move around the environment, that little isometric environment as you're moving around and trying to figure out entrances and exits from the little rooms and areas that you're in. Jumping on the little moving platforms to get to the chest with the star to knock out all the little wolves. Like, all that stuff feels the same, even though it looks way better. But
It feels
go
the game, but like it just like I don't know, man. It's like it's like they took the skeleton of what was there and just
Yeah.
like really like added like all these new sort of like accoutrements on it to make it feel nice and smooth and like newer, like a newer game that's like trying to be nostalgic. Like it almost feels like Sea of Stars, so to speak, where Sea of Stars is trying to be like paying homage to what came before it.
yeah.
But like this is literally what it was, what came before it, right?
Yeah, what are the additions that you like, Dan? What's jumping out to you? Or that you don't like?
So visually, obviously, it looks great. I think it looks fantastic. I love that when you pay attention to the backgrounds, you can actually see all the little details that they've added, so it doesn't just look empty. Because when you go back and play the older one, there's basically the environment that you're walking around in, but the background is just like a solid color.
Yes.
But like now you can see like trees and like things like if like kind of as it goes out further, you can see like they filled it in so it actually looks like an environment. And I actually really appreciate that little detail. Because there's a town called Rose Town that you get to, and like it just looks fantastic because there's the trees surrounding the town and it just really looks like it's out in the woods, which is really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah.
But yeah, it just I don't. It feels like you were saying, it feels like you're jumping into that old game, but newer. I like that they added the little bonus thing to the combat where it has a little meter on the corner. So as to basically kind of encourage you to be better at the accuracy of your attacks and
blocks.
Up.
Yeah.
Yes, and blocks, exactly.
Yeah.
I like the little visual things, like when you block like a good block, like a perfect block, it shows that little shield.
Yeah.
Little shield, which is cool. I like that some of the enemies have like a little bit of higher stats. Like they look the same, but they're like they're a little stronger. Basically, it'll actually have, it'll say like I forget what it says specifically, but it's in yellow text, and it's basically signifying that
like special enemy or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it like looks like the regular enemy, but it's telling you it's special, meaning that the stats are a little higher, so he's going to be a little harder to beat. Trying to think of what else is new.
So the gauge thing, when that hits 100, I was kind of hoping for a little more of like a, and maybe this becomes this, and I just haven't gotten there yet. I was hoping to be more of like a team up attack or something, but right now it's just.
I think in the trailer it does show that.
You'll get there.
Okay, good. Because right now it's just the random toad thing. I'm like, all right, like this is fine, but usually
because sometimes I'll get something that I don't need. I'm like,
he'll give me like defense up, and the battle's almost over or whatever. I'm like, okay, like that's fine.
Because I'm 2 stars in. I got 2 stars, and so my party is consisting of Mario, Mallow, and do we care about? Because I mean, this game is.
Well, Jeff's playing it for the first time.
It's a 1-to-1 remake, right? So it's not. There's not like they're not adding like brand new characters.
And then Zelda shows up as your third character.
Yeah, and the story's not changed and stuff like that. So I don't.
I have 3 party members.
I don't care.
3 party members.
Yeah. I have a third party member who's like, for me, the highlight because he's just such a cool looking character and he should have been in Smash Brothers. So fuck Sakurai for not putting him in Smash Brothers. All right.
Okay. First off, I need you to check your tone a little bit. Okay?
Yeah. Easy Mario. Easy Mario.
I'm angry.
Fuck Sakurai. Hey.
I don't know what you're talking about.
This new voice actor for Mario is spicy compared to Carlos.
Right.
But so I got the stars.
By the way, have you seen the montages of like fake Mario reactions? Like, wow, this new voice actor's crazy, and it's Mario Wonder, and when he dies, he's like, "Oh my god!" It's so funny. It's so funny.
I have not. No,
I have not seen that.
No.
It's just a normal dude's voice yelling.
A normal guy going.
That's pretty good.
Oh my god!
That's amazing.
That's good. I like it.
I gotta find that.
So, where are you guys at in the game?
Yeah, so I just did finished the sewers, and I went down the little waterfall, and then the barrel roll thing.
That's exactly where I am, Tim.
That's kind of where I stopped playing last night. I haven't played today.
Okay.
It's exactly. That's exactly where I am.
Okay.
I'm way further behind that. I don't know. I just got to a part where I accepted what seemed to be a side quest of some kind, involving chasing some sort of crocodile.
Gotcha.
Super early in the game, and I haven't been able to go back, despite having time off the last 3 days. I've just had to work and do stupid crap. Like, what is going on? This is stupid.
Yeah, it's dumb.
I just
Super
want a
life
game.
RPG. Am I right, guys? Yeah. Just life and stuff.
Yeah, right.
It's the life
the
RPG,
grind is real. You know?
I can't
What's
increase
nice
my
about
stats
this
though. It's really frustrating. What's
nice about this game though, it's not super long, so it feels really nice and comfy, and it's kind of breezy. Yeah. So it's not.
It doesn't feel as intimidating as like Sea of Stars gets. Well, granted, I had those little rings on or whatever that helped my difficulty. But this is not nearly as intimidating as Sea of Stars. For me. I can definitely see, and it helps that I just beat that 2 months ago or however long ago that was.
So similar, man. Yeah,
because it's
there's a similarity in the combat and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm getting
the button presses
perfect every time because I just had that type of training through Sea of Stars.
Dude, when I did the first punch with Mario and hit that timing right away, that's such familiar little sound effect as he goes that second punch, that just gave me
ricochets
all the warm
into the
feelings,
second enemy.
Man. They really nailed it. You can tell there was a lot of love put into making sure that if you played the original, this is gonna feel very similar. And same thing with the hammer and with the Koopa shell that you kick, so good. And with Mallow's,
are those specials that you use flower points for?
You get some different weapons you can equip for Mario. Specifically. Yeah.
So you don't have to spend anything to use them. I just got the hammer. I haven't used
the hammer. You could just equip and then use it every time.
Yeah, that's just
that becomes just your weapon. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool, because I'm kind of tired of punching.
No, you'll get some. You'll get, dude. The best weapon for Mario is you have to kind of go a little. You have to go off the beaten path, but if you do, it's fantastic. The music wise,
that's good because I am deliberately, much like Sea of Stars, what's over here? I didn't go.
And this
area
one's
yet.
an easy one to explore because like there's
There's
obviously
the
a right
hubs are
way,
smaller,
and then there might be
yeah.
a little cubby
Yes.
or alcove over there.
And
that
the
you
hubs
can
are
just
much
go.
smaller. It's like, oh, this is a new area over here. Like,
All right.
Yeah.
Jeff, something you have to do. It's after you do the little croc quest you were talking about. Then you're gonna come back to that little town, and some stuff is happening.
Mushroom Kingdom. Here we
you go back.
come.
You have to
Yeah.
you have to help at the castle with some stuff that happens.
Yeah.
When that's all finished, go to Princess Peach's room, and over by the fireplace to the right of it, go hit A in the corner like you're trying to pick something up. I still don't know exactly what these guys are saying. I kind of do, but I don't know exactly what they were
It's
trying.
like they're insinuating something, but
Just
Oh,
go
okay.
do it. It's interesting.
All
right.
It's like,
Yeah.
what did that? Was that?
Yeah.
Okay, you know what I'm talking about, Kyle? Jeff,
I do,
know
yeah.
Dan does.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's totally
Um,
worth it. Go to the right of the little fireplace in Princess
Yeah.
Peach's room.
It's
hit
like
A,
by the chair. There's a chair there.
right by the chair.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah.
It's very. I tried it out this time and I was like, yep, still there. Holy crap!
Yeah.
They put it back in. Interesting.
Oh, you know, they and like little things though. There's this little mushroom kid that's running around in that square.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
in the bottom corner, and in the original one, because I'm pretty sure it's a girl, she would say something about like, oh, when I grow up, I'm gonna, we'll get married or something like that, and she does not say that in this one. So like that's kind of interesting because obviously it's weird for a little girl to be saying to Mario like, hey, when I get older, like we'll get married, and she says something
Mario,
else.
I'm a Grooma. It's a me. I'm a Grooma.
Yeah, I'm me.
Oh goodness.
The silent
you guys
Mario
think
walks
of the
into one
music?
fight and it's Chris from that not Dateline. What was that show where he sits the predator
to catch a predator. Yeah.
and he sits
Yes.
Mario down.
Yeah, when he
Sit
sits-
down,
Mario, would you like to
Mario.
have a seat?
And he's
Yeah.
just gesturing and transforming into.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
What do you guys think of the music though?
Music's
Oh
amazing.
My gosh.
Yeah, I
Dan,
think that
music
first like
is
boss
so
fight
good.
where like a saxophone kicks in, I'm like, here we go.
I am bopping to the battle music again. Like it has taken me straight back to middle school playing this game. Like, oh my gosh. It's so
and
good.
And
I
I
love
love
the-
that you can flip back and forth between.
I haven't
the
tried
old and-
that yet.
Oh, I haven't done
tried
Oh, I
that.
didn't
Yeah.
know that. Oh yeah, that's right. It's in the menu. I just saw the help.
I haven't
hints
tried
about
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I love the what sets a good tone for me the most with these types of games, and granted I've only played like 3 of them, but still, is the walking around music, and the walking around music's just so delightful in this game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta
It was
have good
identical
world
in Sea
music,
Stars,
man.
You know,
Like that's a must that whenever you're talking about these kind of, not that this is long, but like long turn-based RPGs, you gotta
Yeah.
have good world music, you gotta have good battle music, because you're gonna be hearing
Yeah.
both a lot,
lot.
So
Yeah, exactly.
that sucks. Like, what are we doing here,
yeah.
So Kyle and Tim, you guys played the original. I
Many times.
especially Jeff, you're gonna get to a place, Jeff, okay? You're gonna get to a place. It's called the Forest Maze.
Mm.
I need you to sit there and just let it consume you. Let the music consume you.
Oh, sure,
It's-
yeah.
The song in that place is so amazing, dude. And they added like a little extra violin now. And I was streaming it last night, and I actually like stopped. I put the controller down, and I was just like,
I want to watch over you.
Yeah, I was just sitting there, dude. Like,
Oh,
I
I'm
was
looking
like,
forward
love
to
it.
hearing the new version of it. That's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same here. Yeah.
Yeah. So did
It's-
they redo the? I assume it's easier to redo the music than to remaster it or whatever and add new
Yeah.
tracks.
So
Yeah.
Shimamura
But they just
did
redid
the
it.
original music. She does the Kingdom Hearts music.
That's right.
She
We
does-
talked about. Okay,
Yeah.
that's right. We
Yeah.
talked about that before.
So she came back and did all the new arrangements and
Because it was like
great.
bleep. It was like bleep bloops, back
Yeah.
in the day. Because it's Super Nintendo.
It was really pretty
so-
bleep bloops.
Yeah, very pretty bleep.
Really-
Yeah.
really good. Yeah, really good. Yeah.
Yeah, they were
Uh-huh.
like, because the Super Nintendo was like, that was like one of its things was that like their music chip or whatever, their sound chip or whatever was
Yeah.
like state of the art,
It
So
delivered,
like,
man. Games like Secret of Mana and Secret of Evermore.
Oh, I
and
mean,
the
Final Fantasy
games,
Final
six.
Fantasy got its like music. Everyone loves their music, like from that era. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Before
Yeah.
we could even like replicate strings and
Right.
orchestras and
The
stuff
opening
like
of Final Fantasy VI might be the best tune ever. I'm just saying.
It's pretty
it might
good.
be.
Don't,
March of
pretty
the-
good.
don't make
March
me
of the
go play it
Lions.
in
Pretty
theater
good.
rhythm.
It's when they're
I'll have to
marching
go
in
play
the
it.
Yeah,
snow.
March of the Lions. Yeah,
Yeah.
Great
Ter-
song.
Chrono
Terror's
Trigger's
Wing.
music is phenomenal. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
So Dan, I know they've added a few things to the game. Have you hit anything new to that they've added, or is there not really much that they've?
so like, content wise,
Or Easter eggs or anything.
Yeah.
that you've
no,
seen.
not yet. But I was gonna mention earlier, and then I forgot. I I like that if you're in the middle of like an area, so if you go into one of the areas and you're like in the middle of it, before you'd have to backtrack to either the entrance or the exit of it, right? But now you can actually just pull up a map.
Dude, yeah,
that's right.
great.
Yeah,
In fast travel,
and a
which
save
is
after
awesome.
every area change, so you don't have to worry about like going to a save zone and stuff like
They
that.
tell you like you can use the save spots if you want to. You just don't really need to. They kind of tell you that. Like,
love that.
You can use them.
I still save because I have trust issues.
I love jumping on the save.
And I want to see give me the timestamp, baby.
Yeah, I want the timestamp. Yeah, thank you.
I also just like jumping on that thing and bouncing out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So seamless and quick. Yeah.
But yeah, content wise, no, I don't think anything new has popped up. So
okay.
I'm gonna guess it's probably later in the game because they did say anticipate some surprises.
That's what I was saying.
I thought there was gonna be some new nods or something like that.
Yeah. So I'm thinking towards the end of the game is when they'll do that.
Okay.
Obviously, it's gonna be like naked Samus Aran or something like that.
Probably.
Obviously.
Sure.
Yeah.
Actually,
a real M-rated.
Hear me out, Sephiroth, huh?
And he stabs
Sephiroth
Mario
kissing
through.
Mario. Yeah.
Oh, we had different takes on what was going to happen there. I think.
What did you say? Did I talk over it?
I said he stabs Mario through. As you were saying, he kisses
Mario.
with
the. Yeah, we're almost there.
He kisses him with the Masamune, right?
Guys, you know what he does? He stabs Mario, then pulls him close with his sword for the kiss.
Right.
Oh, yeah. A shish kebab kiss. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Shish kebab.
Yeah.
I like how you say it like it's something we've all seen.
Oh, we all know. We all know.
That's what it's called.
Yeah.
My favorite kind.
That's amazing. I still find the dialogue to be like fun and charming. I don't know if it's because I've played this and I recognize almost all these lines, or if it's actually really clever and like cutesy and fun. I don't know, but I like it. Same. I don't know how much is informed by the fact I played it before.
Yeah, it's funny, like Mario being a mute and like miming everything. Like it was funny then, it's funny now because Mario kind of talks now. Like there's sound effects really.
I love when he reenacts stuff. Yeah.
But this is from an era where and they didn't do anything to like add anything, so I like that he still mimics everything and like that's how the story
over a lot during conversations. He just face plants.
Yeah. Mario as a silent protagonist is interesting. It definitely
is. Yeah.
Yeah, it saved them from having to use this new voice actor guy who's doing everything apparently.
Sure. Yeah, right. He's a menace. He's got to be stopped. I'm kidding.
What in the world?
I don't have any opinion on it at all.
Well, guys, Super Mario RPG is amazing. We'll talk more about this too because I think this is one that I'm absolutely gonna play all the way through. This is just a delightful time of year too. Like I'm off this whole next week. For Thanksgiving. Family's coming to town. We're gonna watch a lot of movies and football and play a lot of games. So Mario RPG is one that is actually super easy to throw up on the big screen and play while the kids are around. It's not a big deal.
It's a little dirty in the front here because I mean this thing's over 20 years old, but yeah, there you go.
Look at this beautiful it is.
There it is.
The discoloration just means you're
Super
using
Nintendo.
Yeah.
That's all it means.
Yeah, I loved the Super Nintendo. What a good console.
One of the greats. Yeah, it's one of the great systems.
Yeah. Like I remember because this was the first Super Mario RPG was the first RPG I ever played. And I was so young that I didn't even know what RPG stood for. I was just like, I don't know what that means. It's just letters, whatever.
And I remember for the longest time I was like rocket something gun.
Yeah, rocket propelled grenade.
Yeah, exactly.
But I remember renting it from Blockbuster. That was the first time I experienced it. And I'm sure you guys remember if you'd grab a game that was a cartridge and there was save files on it, right? Because other kids were renting it and there were save files on it. So I remember like the first time renting it and there was a save file on there for an area that's the last star. And I just went into it because I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like, oh, what's this? And I clicked into it and I was running around and I got my ass whooped because I had no idea like what I was doing. I was just like, what's it like? Yeah. But that memory is like ingrained in my head. Like I remember going into that save file. I was in that place. I had no idea what I was doing, fighting a crew of characters. I won't say.
I have an incredible memory of my best friend James growing up as a kid. Like I'd played RPGs before, JRPGs, but like I didn't know about Mario RPG, and he was kind of like he had the knowledge that we do now as adults about like the industry, where he's like,
that's awesome.
No, SquareSoft or Soft at the time, they made a deal with Nintendo, and they had this whole idea of the crap, and like I remember like him explaining it to me and like sitting down with me and like reading through the booklet as he was like we were starting a adventure with he and I together, and up beating that game together. Where like it
So
was
fun.
it was just a good memory that I still have, and I had
Yeah.
no idea that it existed or anything like that until like he's like, yeah, it's Mario, but like Final Fantasy, and I'm like, oh, that's
Yeah.
the coolest. That's the coolest thing in the entire world,
Yeah. It
Dude,
What
is.
a
I
marriage.
have a similar memory to a buddy of mine named Ryan. As I was growing up, I went on vacation with him and his family. He was allowed to bring a friend, so I got invited to go with them to South Carolina to the beach. And I remember I assumed their parents were billionaires because we were in this large conversion van. It was just the two of us kids. They didn't have a lot of kids in the family. It was like his older sister who was away at college, and then him. And I remember we're sitting in there. They have this little CRT TV that can play VHS movies. He had a whole bunch of movies, and he had a Super Nintendo hooked up to it in the van while we're
Sick.
driving.
Yeah.
And they
He
had all
might
the
as well be
things
from the
set up.
future,
So, like, we were sitting there playing Mario RPG for the whole drive, played it the whole week at the beach, the whole way back.
Yeah.
We
That's
beat
so
it
cool.
once and then almost the second playthrough during our
Oh wow.
trip.
Yeah.
That's
It was,
amazing.
oh, so fun. Like, so this
Yeah,
this
that's
this
awesome.
game has a lot of nostalgia for me as well.
Yeah.
And I of course ended up buying my own copy. Like maybe within that next year, I was like, I'm gonna have to own this because this is the best thing I've ever played. So
Mhm.
anyway, yeah, same
I have
deal.
absolutely zero memories of this game, and it doesn't matter at all. This game is trash.
Thank you.
No,
Thank you for
no,
sharing. Thank
But
you for
it
sharing.
is interesting playing a game and getting nostalgia for memories I didn't have. Like it's weird. Like I do feel that in the gameplay.
It is a time capsule,
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it does have a nice fresh coat of paint on there, but the
Yeah.
game is transportive to a time in the '90s that like
Yeah, exactly.
doesn't exist anymore.
Like Sea of Stars did that for me too, especially because it's still in
Yeah.
that pixelated art style.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in the early 2000s or whatever, playing an old game on a console, because that's really the only time I played older games. I didn't really
Yeah.
play them when they came out. I just played stupid multiplayer stuff, easy stuff with my brother, in the 90s. Yeah, just I don't know. It brought me back to a time when I would play games like that, even though that genre was not something I was exposed to at the time.
Yeah, I mean, me waking up and still in my jammies or whatever, and like
Jams.
near 40, turning on my Switch on my TV, like it just feels like I got transported 30 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally
It's cool,
agree.
man. I love it. I love that feeling.
One of my, after hearing you say this, Jeff, and by the way, I have loved not only hearing your takes on some of these things, whether it was Octopath, which is a newer game but has old school vibes.
Thanks
to
for
it.
reminding me, by the way, that I still love that game, and it came out this year.
I know,
I'm like,
it's so good. It's so good.
No acknowledgement.
Totally no nods.
And then Sea of Stars, you were the only one outside of Dan. I assumed Dan's going to finish this game. And I thought if one other person does, it might be Kyle. Could have been Derek. I wasn't sure if anyone else would finish it. It was Jeff who finished it.
Yeah, that surprised the shit out of me too.
Which I was like, this is great. So it's been really fun to like hear from your perspective, your thoughts on these games. So now I'm just kind of like, what can I do to get him to play Chrono Trigger? Like what string can I pull at to get you to like
Chrono
fire
Trigger,
it?
dude.
Wasn't there a remake of that recently, or a remaster?
No.
You can get it on Steam, and you have a Steam Deck, and it plays well there. Yeah, and it's cheap.
Yeah.
And it looks good.
What am I thinking of? I must be thinking of Chrono Cross
and stuff like that, but it is still an old school game.
Yeah.
It was my first experience with having not only a large group of like party members available. No, it was my second because Final Fantasy VI had a pretty good party size. But I also it was the first time that I remember seeing a whole bunch of different endings to the game, and they were varied and they're all over the place. And I remember being like,
it's cool. You like time travel stories too, and this is one of the better like video game time travel stories, and
Still
like
is.
few get as good as this, So
totally agree. Okay,
it's all about finding that window of like when the hell am I ever going to have time to fire?
Well, whenever the industry unionizes and then goes on strike, and then we don't have games for 2 years, which that's probably going to happen. Everybody, that's when you can play.
Yeah. Actually, it'd probably be a thing where if there is some sort of Mario RPG treatment. I'm not saying Chrono Trigger should get any visual changes. I love the pixelated graphics, don't get me wrong. But if they decided to do something where they spruced up visuals and release some new version of it, that's where I think
Sea of Stars proved you can still do that art style in a brand new game.
You're absolutely. Is there still some sort of like license held up with that game, or like does Square own that game?
No, like it's out on. I think it was on the Super Nintendo Mini. I'm pretty sure. I think it's available on Steam. Like the fact that it's available in some shops.
Because like we got Chrono Cross. I remember because because of some weird licensing. Like we couldn't make Chrono Trigger, so we had to call it Chrono. If I'm remembering correctly, I could be butchering this
for the
memory as
PlayStation
well.
1.
Yeah, because I thought for the longest time they couldn't just make a sequel because of some reason.
Was it like Nintendo and Square each having a piece of the pie?
Yeah, and then Square dissolving and becoming Square Enix.
There's
and
a Toriyama thing too, because the actual art direction.
Yeah, how much does Toriyama own? So it's just like I feel like there's a lot of, I don't know, like, because why have we never gotten a sequel? Why hasn't there been more than a remake other than the mobile version, the DS version?
DS,
like what's going on here? It's the most popular video game of all time, one of them, and like there's just no. We're never gonna get a new version of it. It's just weird to me.
They hear you and they're gonna give you a Netflix series. How about that?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
dude, there was a rumor for years. There was two names thrown out there. It was Chrono Star and Chrono Break. For years,
I remember hearing about Chrono Break.
Chrono Break sounds familiar to me too.
Yeah, sequels like titles or whatever, like another Chrono game, but obviously that never happened. So.
This art style holds up. I'm looking at screenshots of it now.
Yeah, it's some of the best pixel art.
And they
communicated. Sea of Stars looks like this, so I mean,
it communicated emotion in the same way you saw in Sea of Stars with the little character animations, just the little animations they do.
Little shrugs.
Chrono Trigger is the one. That's where that kind of started, where it was like, man, there's some pretty serious stuff happening, and
I bet it translates. It feels like that's the game that Sea of Stars was paying homage to the most. I mean, through everything it was doing.
Yeah,
I think they literally said that in their behind the scenes stuff. So
I think so.
It was also just cool the way that they allowed each character to have these awesome shining moments and their own little storylines that you could kind of see their little arcs come to completion before doing like the main story stuff. It was really good. It was really
Frog
cool.
is the best boy.
Frog is so good. Yeah,
dude, Frog with the sword. I mean, come on, you can.
Yeah, his little song is the best.
It's so funny because everything you're saying, I'm like, man, you would have this attachment big time to the characters in Sea of Stars. Like, whenever you
I did the bit that I played.
Whenever you're both able to see that.
You know whose fault it was? It was Starfield's fault. I would have kept playing Sea of Stars, but it was.
You played the Rockstar game.
If I would have just bought it on the Switch, I would have probably played and beat it by now. But instead, I was like, no, I started it and got like 4 hours into the Xbox. Now I'm imprisoned there. Now I have to play it there. And like,
yeah, exactly.
I don't. It's easier for me to beat RPGs when it's on a handheld. It just is. I will pick it up and chip away at it.
Especially when that's pixelated like that. That's kind of like a throwback.
Yeah, you don't need a big TV to play that.
Playing
game.
those on handhelds.
It's not gonna. It's not
looks
gonna
great on a big TV though. Does look.
I played. I would say
looks
I played
great
half
on
of it
OLED
on
Switch too. I imagine.
I would say I played half of it on my TV and half of my PC. I mean, it doesn't really matter though because it's pixelated, but they look good. Whatever. It's like it doesn't matter where you play it though.
I do like playing old school games on big TVs. Yeah. It feels like I'm getting away with something.
About exactly.
Like something.
It feels like I'm gonna get arrested.
I'm merging time right now.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm doing.
Time traveled.
Okay, never mind. This is not good. I was looking up. Is this leaker named Zippo? Reliable? Is he one of those leakers who like has a pretty good track record? But no, it looks like it looks like Zippo is wrong a lot and has been banned from some subreddits. So never mind. Apparently Zippo is the one who announced that Chrono Trigger is one of the major remakes in the works for the Nintendo Switch. And I got real excited, but Zippo's not to be trusted.
No, so. all news is broken through 4chan. We know that.
Yeah. That is true.
Yeah, we know
that. That NVIDIA leak, a decent amount of stuff has come from that actually was true. So, and there was something
Chrono Trigger on there?
Chrono Trigger, I think, was on there. But Final Fantasy Tactics was definitely on there. Final Fantasy 9 was on there.
9.
Have we seen any of those yet?
Well, not those, but there were other ones.
I would love both of those. Both of those are yes. Those are big.
There are other ones that we did see get announced from that NVIDIA leak. Yeah,
come out. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh man, what a fun walk down memory lane. What about another? There's another pretty in depth, I think, kind of RPG type game called Persona 5 Tactica that is out now, which I have not tried. I know it's on Game Pass. I've got access to it. I get that. I'm just not as attached to the Persona series as a few of you guys are. So I wasn't sure if any of you have tried this one yet, or if you're playing other stuff. Oh, what do you think, Kyle?
I played a bit of it. Yeah, it's really good. It's like one of the most unique tactics, like things ever. It's really more of a turn-based cover shooter. I know that sounds weird, but that's really what it is. Yeah, you're controlling your characters, like the whole battlefield is filled with like boxes or cover to like get behind, And it's
Okay.
all about like if you're behind cover, you auto resist attacks and stuff like that. They can still hit you, but like you'll have, you know, coverage saves and stuff like that. You know, you still have the ability to melee things, and you still have the ability to use personas, but it's really about navigating the battlefield in a way where you're getting around cover, knocking people out of cover, shooting things out of cover, knocking them out of cover with personas, and being in cover, so whenever it's their turn, you have some sort of protection and stuff like that. And it just feels really good. There's a lot of like when it's that character's turn to move, you're not moving by grid. There is an invisible grid, but that's not really how you're moving. You're moving kind of like in a free flow way. You know, like, hey, I just want to go over there.
Interesting.
You just go over there. You know,
Remember
the
Valkyria
limitations.
Chronicles had some of that where you move around and shoot,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah,
artistic.
yeah. There's some
The new
Geofield Chronicle kind of feels here
It
too.
looks like
you
it looks
know?
like Infinite Wealth is going to be that too, where it's just like just go.
And we'll talk about that a little later as
Yeah.
well. But Infinite Wealth is the
Oh, did
demo
you do
for
the
that.
trial?
I
Oh,
did,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
You have to beat the game to play the trial, which I think
Okay.
is crazy. But
What?
yeah.
That's funny.
I
though.
don't know. Yeah, that's its own decision. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. You know, I think I didn't know how I was gonna take the chibi, you know, like art style or whatever. It's charming and cute, you know, and it looks good and sharp enough where I'm like, oh, I can handle this. This is fine. You know, I don't like cutesying up stuff. You know, like that's not my favorite
Yeah.
thing in the entire world.
That's
But
why I
like
stopped playing World of Final Fantasy. It was too much for me. Like
I gotta be honest. That's why I never played it because it just and you liked it, didn't you, Dan?
I did
Dude,
like
that game actually, I mean, I only played it the one time through, so I don't remember like heavy the details of the
you
story.
in the group talking, not like
Yeah.
glowing, but highly about
The
it.
story is legitimately pretty solid. Yeah, and it has like a slight Pokemon aspect where you're actually like catching like the monsters within the series, and you're stacking them on top of each other. I get the whole cute thing. I mean, I don't mind that because whatever,
Yeah.
but I definitely
I
get the
say
whole...
that, but then I really like theatrhythms, like cutesy shit. So
Sure.
you know, like
Yeah.
I again, I like this cutesy stuff. So I think like if you just
Yeah.
do it right, I'm in.
maybe it's
you know,
maybe it's
Yeah.
the setting, because you're right. It didn't bother me with the music game at all. But with World of Final Fantasy, hey, it's still installed on my Vita, sitting over here in the drawer. So
Sure.
if it's on the Switch, I might go back and download that game.
I
World of Final
think you guys
Fantasy
would
is on
like it.
Switch, I think.
Is
I think
it
you guys
okay?
would at
Yeah.
least like the combat because
All right.
it was
Yeah,
fun.
I'm gonna put it on my wish list once we get a lull here. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying this. So I this is another one where I'm like, oh, you should have started this on the Switch, dude. Like you're gonna beat it there. Like you're not gonna beat it on Xbox. Let's get real. You know, if I'm turning on the Xbox, I'm playing Forza or you know, dare I say, jump back into Starfield. Like I want to play a big game when I'm turning my Xbox on. You know. So I just don't know if I'll keep on playing it there, but if it goes on a sale, I might pick it up on the Switch because I am really enjoying it. It's a whole new type of story, you know. You know, I don't know how much you need to know about the other stuff. Obviously, if you're going in, you'll know these characters.
I don't think it matters. You go to an.
But yeah, I don't like. It's
Okay.
not gonna be like, hey, remember that time we did all this? You know, like they're gonna talk. You know, hey, we're you know curing hearts and yada yada. Like you already know kind of what these games are about, and like they're just telling a different story.
Yeah.
You know,
Gotcha.
kind of on the side or whatever.
And it's not like the beat 'em up, whatever that was, Strikers.
No, which is
where it's
also
after the game.
canonical, and
Yeah,
you know,
it's after
this
the
is
game. This is in the middle of it, I think.
this is happening, on the side, absolutely, yeah.
I'm
a side
playing it.
quel.
I'm playing it. That's my surprise of the week, I guess. I
Ooh.
Nice. How are you?
I
liking
really
it?
didn't expect. I was just like,
Jeff's
How
a
you
kind of
like-
like
yeah.
G-boy, guys. He's becoming.
Because you went out of your way to say this week, I don't like tactics games. I'm not gonna play
you
that
did
game.
I was
say
like,
that.
I was giving myself an out. Like, it's
What
okay.
a liar.
You already don't
Yeah.
like tactics games. And then I reminded myself, oh, you have Game Pass. You could just try it, and if you don't like it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So
literally
yeah,
nothing
that was the
to
main
it.
reason. Like I was just like, I have Game Pass, might as well just play 30 minutes. And I did play 30 minutes because that's all I had time for. But I am actually going to go back to it because that free flow nature of the tactics and the cover based aspect of it is what I don't know. That's like kind of what's
Is approachable the right word?
Yeah,
It feels more
it's
approachable.
more approachable for people like
Yeah.
me. You know, it's not like it's not like a Fire Emblem Grid, which Engage is not a good example. Maybe older Fire Emblems where I feel like I would be a little lost in the combat and not good.
Uh-huh.
Engage is a little more free flowy, a little bit.
There is a free flow nature to that. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, this one is definitely just walk up to the guy if you want. You know, it doesn't matter. Like just go over here. And sure there are the out of bounds areas and stuff, but the fact that you have that cover stuff is like really clever. Yeah, the
it
persona is
XCOM
basically
like?
just
Like
magic.
Mario plus Rabbids? Is it
Yeah,
I was
XCOM's
gonna
not
say Mario plus Rabbids.
you know, they're a little more free flowy than XCOM, but yeah, XCOM's like on a grid but not on a grid, you know? Like
Yeah,
where
same
XCOM.
as Mario
When I
plus
think
Rabbids.
tactics, I think XCOM, and I'm like, I can't do that. Like that's where I
yeah,
draw the
this
line.
is like
I
this
can't
is
do
like
that.
easy XCOM where there's like
Yeah.
just a few things you can do, but it's all about placing your characters where they need to be. It's more
Right.
about positioning than it is.
But it's turn-based, right? You finish and the other team then
Yeah,
goes.
yeah. Not unlike Midnight Suns. Midnight Suns had a kind of free flowy nature to it as well, and
Very-
it's more
very
about like
similar.
getting utilizing the environment around you and stuff like that.
Baldur's Gate in a way too, but Baldur's Gate actually assigned a number to your movement, so that's different. But it's kind of the same because there is still freedom. Like you can go any direction, but there's a number in how many steps you can take. But anyway, I'm kind of surprised. Like, and I immediately liked the art style. Even though I did recognize it was like definitely a little more like shaky. Or childish, I guess. I don't really know what the right term is, but it was definitely more cartoony than before. But even so, still like, look at the colors though. Look at how
it's the colors and the animations. Like when they're like moving and like expressing, I'm like, okay, I'm really into this.
And the voice acting
awesome.
is still great. Like the voice acting is just the same as it was.
Yeah, voice acting, music's outstanding. It's a lot of renditions of really. I mean, Persona 5's got one of the greatest soundtracks of all time. So like, you're taking some of the best songs ever, twisting them, remixing them, adding new instruments, doing them with new instruments, slowing down tempos of fast-paced songs, speeding up tempos of slow-paced songs. It's just good.
By the way, I love after each fight where Mario RPG doesn't really do this because it's a remake of an older game. I wouldn't expect it to. But this one, after each fight and how it grades you and stuff and upgrades, it's like the slickest animation when it comes in. I'm like, this is so
Persona
cool.
5's like carries that
so
style.
Good.
Like the Muso game was like that, and the original game was like that, where it's like a battle is ending, but we're gonna be really extra about showing you
like,
how well you did or what you got. It's
or when you do the like combo attacks.
You know? Yep, and you can do that. You can position all your characters around one guy and then do an all-in attack and then like really just decimate them. Yeah, because there's a lot of moves that like throw characters around into areas, so it's all about, which we're talking about this too, but Like a Dragon 8 is like this as well, where it's like it's really about where you're throwing them and if you can throw them into somebody else or maybe up against a wall so they bounce off and take more damage, or maybe knock them into the middle of all your characters so you can do that all in attack. You know,
I just did the only half hour in, so I did that first chunk where it's like you're in an alternate universe of some kind.
Yeah, they drag you into.
You discover an ally that somehow their base is at the same cafe that you have in your primary universe. So I just stopped there. Is like when you got to the cafe or whatever it's called, and diner. I don't know what it is in Japanese. But you get there and you have the freedom to go walk around and talk to your allies and stuff. Good stopping point. I'm tired.
And that's like your Normandy area. Oh, in between battles, I'm gonna go and talk to all my dudes, you know. Yeah. And all your, this is not a spoiler because it says this in the trailers, but like all your team members get like turned. So like you don't start the game with 20 characters. You know what I mean? It's like you
have to win them back.
You do.
Yeah,
but
so
you have
slowly
to
win them back, you know, and get them on your team. So it's drip feeding you that kind of combat as well, where you're not overwhelmed immediately.
For people like me that didn't finish the Persona 5 and probably never will because it's just too dang long.
I mean, it's 140 something.
Yeah, exactly. Like Cyberpunk is like that's the 100-hour game I'm gonna die having put 100 hours into. Like, it's not. I'm not
say the Royal Edition's even long. Yeah,
exactly. Well, I think the 140 is the Royal Edition. Yeah. Yeah. It's still like 120 non-Royal. Yeah.
But this one does that. That I was very grateful that this one is like kind of like here's all of your teammates, and it's like 12 of them, or it's an insane number of people.
Yeah, it's 8.
And the fact that they're just like, it feels like a lot to somebody that's not familiar. Then immediately they're taken away, and I'm like, oh, thank God. Now I'm just here with
same. God. Even I was just like, I didn't want to learn everybody right now. You know, I
was just kind of like, thank God, it's just me and this cat thing. That's not a cat. Thank God.
Yeah, right. Don't call Morgana a cat. She gets really weird about it.
How dare you?
I'm glad to hear you guys are enjoying this one. It does look super stylish and slick, so I'm glad to hear that it's delivering.
Fun. I like.
They're like this is a series I don't mind them squeezing, you know, because like they're squeezing in a way where it's like, let's throw it over to the Muso guys, let's throw it away to a tactical studio, throw it. Yeah, you know, they're not just like, it's not Persona 5 2 where it's the same game, same mechanics, just another 100 hours of that. They're figuring out ways to like remix it and like you're playing with these ingredients in different playgrounds. So
I think it's safe to say that if Persona 6 gets announced, it's going to be one of the most hyped things ever.
There's word that's going to be a 2025 game. So
I buy it. I totally buy that.
I forget where I heard that
too. Yeah, I saw something like about that earlier this year, and that makes a lot of sense considering all the
Sega email leak or something like that. I forget what it was, but
because nothing official though, right?
Nothing official.
Right.
No.
Because you have like 3 Reload coming next year. I'm so
January. Yeah.
I'm like really excited for that.
3 was my first Persona, and it's like
same.
It's still one of my favorite games of all time. Like it's so.
It has like a darker vibe.
It's so dark,
cool.
And like
Persona 5 is kind of like jazzy and lighthearted a little bit.
Right.
So,
yeah, I mean, you say that, but then the first like guy is like raping his students, so it's like
sure.
It's a little,
I do remember that from that game.
Well, it's a little
the
edgy,
suicide elements.
But 3, like there's like world-ending stakes, and it's crazy and dark and weird. Yeah, like you unlock your persona by the kids shooting themselves in the head with pistols. Like it's weird and dark. Yeah, there's a subtext story about like teens and suicide and stuff like that. And
Japanese people really have a way of telling those stories where it's like they did a Beauty and the Beast retelling that was kind of like about a kid that the Beast was like a person in a video game that was nobody's ever going to see this movie because it's not that good, but the story is like
visually
only Japanese people would think to tell it this way, where it's like it takes place in a video game world, but the character that's playing the Beast is actually a kid that's being abused at home by his dad. And I'm like, who would think to? I don't think anybody American would think to tell this story.
Out through their art, that too.
Dang.
Wild. I think the movie was called.
What the hell was it called? It was Belle. It was
Belle,
Belle.
Yeah.
Dang.
Like the movie's pretty, but like it's just not whatever.
It got really good reviews. So
I just didn't like it as much as everybody else did. Apparently, I don't know.
Man, so some really fun, in a way, throwback games that feel new and certainly so cool with Persona 5 Tactica and Super Mario RPG. What a good time if you're an RPG gamer over this holiday week. Hopefully you get some time off for this holiday week to dive into some of these. A few other games that have come out this week that are worth noting or making fun of. We've got Spirit Tea, which I installed, played for like, it had to be 3.5 minutes. And I was like, I don't want to do this. And I uninstalled it.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. It is basically like
you are making tea, right? The whole game or whatever, isn't that right?
No, it's like a life sim. So it had a little bit of like Stardew Valley-esque intro to it. And Kyle's out.
He leaves out of protest.
See,
yeah, man.
That could work, but this doesn't look great. Like the pixel art looks kind of.
It actually looked like a really bland Earthbound. Like think of Earthbound. And how it's beloved for its pixel graphics with how bright and colorful and kind of crazy it gets. That's one of the reasons it's beloved. In addition to its story, but this was just kind of bland. I don't know, man. I was like, no, I don't want to do this. If I'm going to play a little pixelated life sim, I'm going to go back to Life of Stardew Valley and I'll just play that.
Yeah, Stardew Valley definitely has much like more personality and like,
and it looks better.
Just life to it. Yeah.
Speaking of things not looking quite right, Hogwarts Legacy's out on the Switch. Listen, I think it is impressive what they've done on the Switch with this game. This is a modern video game. But it's still, I was watching 2 different breakdowns of it, and it's still, I mean, it is way below par compared to other versions of this game. So, if you're gonna play Hogwarts Legacy, play it on PS5, Xbox Series, or PC. If you have any of those 3, it's a really pretty game if you get on one of those places, and it's super smooth and a lot of fun. If all you have is a Switch, or like in my case, if you have a daughter who all she has is a Switch and she is an absolute Harry Potter maniac, has re-listened to the books like 1,000,000 times, and I'm considering getting this for her because it is a functional version of the game. And she does not care about she doesn't care about visuals. She doesn't. Like she's like, I think it looks great. I showed her a video of it and I was like, what do you think? She's like, I think it looks so good. I was like,
all right.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the one scenario where I could see.
Well, that also readies her mind to be blown later on in life when she sees current gen graphics. Like, because that was us growing up. Was like we went from pixelated and everything, and now we're at Hogwarts Legacy on Xbox Series X.
She's not going to go, Dad, there's a lot of pop-in as I load into a new area. Exactly. Like, she's not going to think about that.
There's so many drop frames, Dad. Oh, my God.
The textures on the wall don't really solidify till you get close to it. She won't care. She's
She's
gonna
not
be like,
talking
Dad,
about all the
Dad,
caves.
I
cliffs.
can raise a hippogriff.
The
Like that's what she's gonna talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Listen, if I had a child and that child didn't acknowledge the glorious cliffs and Tales of Arise, all right, I'm disowning them.
that's fair.
Okay?
That's totally
That's
fair.
fair. Yeah.
I saw two really interesting breakdowns on this, and it certainly they cut all the right corners to make it work on the Switch. So props to them for making it work. I do think they're going to sell a lot of copies. Combination of kids plus Harry Potter and the Switch. I mean, it's going to sell copies, but it's just hard to recommend it unless you've got no other option to play it. It is a great game though. Coral Island is out. I think that's another kind of like super cartoony life sim, farming sim kind of a thing. I think.
That I did kickstart that one. I kickstarted that.
Thanks, Dan, for making that game happen.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
Dan.
you're welcome. You're welcome. You're very
Producer
welcome.
Dan. Yeah.
So I got my code for that, and we started it Wednesday. Yeah, we started it Wednesday.
How do you liking this one?
It's fun. It's nice. I like it has like the atmosphere and like the style that they're going for this island feels very like Polynesian, like Hawaiian, which is really cool. Because my wife and we've been to Maui once, but we loved it there. So it has like that energy to it.
Is this comparable to another type of life sim or farming sim?
Honestly, it at the moment with certain elements that have happened, it feels very much like Stardew mixed with Animal Crossing. There's
you're gonna have to keep me like give me some live updates as you're like, because like I'll play this game if it's like
if it's more like Animal Crossing, Kyle might really go into it.
I like Stardew too. I'm a big boy. I like Stardew as well.
Yeah.
Stardew's
awesome. But the
there's
characters are
animals though. I'm in.
Jeff's out on both of these, so
yeah.
Spaced out.
The characters are all hot. They're all hot. All the characters are hot. The character portraits.
And when you go on dating missions, it actually goes live action, and there's live action girls,
right.
just like Yakuza. Yeah.
The character portraits all look like Disney characters. The style that they're going for with the character portraits are very Disney. But yeah, the game it feels good to play. It doesn't feel like weird or janky.
Where are you playing it at?
On the PS5.
You're playing on PS5. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Did you know there's a real Coral Island in Fuck It? Am I pronouncing that right? Fuck It?
What?
Yeah.
Phuket.
I mean, I don't know the bit.
You must be pronouncing that right.
Yeah. You have to be.
Phuket.
Yeah, it's Phuket, right, in Thailand.
I don't know. Yeah.
You've never heard of that city? Okay, that's fine.
I've never, not once, but I believe that it's a thing.
It's spelled like fuck it. It's P.
Hold on, you gotta say Thailand like Street Fighter though.
What?
How do they say it?
You gotta say like Street Fighter. Thailand.
Yeah.
Thailand. China. USSR.
USSR.
USA.
Brazil.
Brazil. Yeah, that was always my favorite. Yeah. Brazil.
But yeah, no, I think if you like any of those kinds of games,
Japan.
Japan. So no,
it's definitely worth checking out.
Flowing back in.
If you can keep on reporting back with like pretty glowing things, I'm gonna buy it.
Yeah, I think right now it's feeling very cozy and very nice. So for sure.
All right. Well, Coral Island is out. I played a little bit of The Last Faith during the Next Fest demo session that happened. It's fine. I mean, it's a very stylistic. It wants to be like Castlevania meets Dark Souls, kind of a side-scrolling game where you have tough enemies and really dark fantasy aesthetics, and it's interesting, but it's not. I just wasn't in the mood for it. But
not doing anything unique.
Nothing super unique in my opinion. So it's kind of getting lost.
It didn't look unique, but it's on my wish list for sure. Like,
yeah,
I have a feeling I'll like it, but like then I'll be like, I'm tired already. Like, I don't know.
I put it in the same bucket as something like Blasphemous. Some people are gonna love those games, and some people just aren't. So, Teardown is out on consoles. It's been on PC for a little while, I think, in early access at least, and it's now on consoles. That's that kind of Minecraft-looking thing where you can destroy
everything in your sight. Yes.
So
crazy.
the destruction aspect of it, I remember from the trailer. Actually, there was part of me who goes, "This looks stupid." Then I saw them blowing things up. I was like, "That part looks a little fun, I guess."
Yeah.
And apparently,
I'll give you
heist
that.
game. It's all in the name of a heist of some kind, and reviews are very, very kind.
Reviews
to the
are
game.
glowing.
The reviews are good for this game. Yeah.
Our reviews are not good. Is Flashback 2. That's a bummer.
Sucks because I was kind of excited for this game.
I was too. So this is like literally a sequel to a 26-year-old game, or however old the original one was.
Flashback?
And it is getting blasted. People are saying it just barely runs. Like it
Sucks.
apparently is like a broken mess.
Oh no,
of the game.
never mind. Nothing.
It's
So-
very out of this world or outer worlds, depending on the title that you bought it as. But like that's the type of game that it is, like a cinematic side scroller of a
Yep.
bygone era.
Yep. I when they announced it, I had it wish listed on
Same.
Steam for a long time, and then I went and I started just reading through some user reviews. I'm not saying those are the be all end all, but they're all bad. Like
It's a nice temperature check. Yeah.
whew,
Definitely.
It does not sound good. And there's no like critical reviews that I could find for this. So I had to rely on that. And I was like, all right, that's gonna have to wait. I also think it's expensive, unless I'm misremembering. I think it's like $40.
That's
Unless-
insane.
That could be a different game. Maybe this one's 20. Anyway, it's too much. I can tell you that. All right, Bluey the video game is out.
I think. Did you make this up, or did you just add this in?
Did you make this
Did
up?
you make this game
No,
up?
it is absolutely kind of like when Peppa Pig came out. I think it was early this year or late last year. It's just a little kid game. By the way,
Okay.
as little preschool shows go, Bluey's one of the best ones. As someone who's
I've
had
heard
to
that.
sit
Oh, it's
by,
a show. Okay. All right.
as someone who's had to
Yeah.
sit by my preschooler and watch Bluey, it's legitimately made me chuckle more than once. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, it's Australians and they just kind of have this great sense of humor with their little show. So whatever.
They say the C word a lot.
True. Yeah.
It's a really hard hitting preschool show. You know how Disney Plus is going crazy. Everyone talks about it. The Forest Quartet, which I think was that free on Epic Games and I missed it. I feel like that was like maybe it's in my library, but that's out officially this week. Warhammer Age of Sigmar Realms of Ruin. There's a title for you. I think this one looks pretty cool though. Kyle,
Dude,
you're-
I want to play this so bad. Here's a couple things. I won't spend too long on it. I'm afraid of RTSs. I don't know if I'd be good at this. How does that control on a console? Like, is that going to feel
Yeah.
good? I'll have to look at some reviews. However, I heard that this game is extremely cinematic and story focused, and it's all about just like long CG cutscenes and stuff like that. So I'm just like, we don't have very many Warhammer games that like give you a peek inside of the world of Warhammer. Usually it's just kind
there's
of
so
like
much there.
there's so much there, and
Yeah.
the most we get right now are kind of like Left 4 Dead style shooters with like Vermintide and Dark Tide and stuff like that. So I would love like a really story centric game like this, or Space Marines 2, which was supposed to come out this year. What happened to that game, guys?
Oh yeah, it's just
but,
kind of
like,
gone
yeah,
quiet, haven't they?
Yeah. So I am going to look more into this game, and if I like what I hear, and I hear that it's easy for our TS dumb people like myself, it runs well on consoles, I might pick it up. Yeah.
All right, yeah, I'm curious about that one too. The Walking Dead Destinies is getting roasted, and it's hilarious. That game, it sounds like a bad idea from the start. The idea is
Like the trailer
you
looked
can
bad.
go back through the actual
was.
TV show and like change the outcomes of things. Like,
Sure.
and the
Okay.
graphics look bad. I mean, it's a Skull Island game all over again.
I saw the boss fight between Shane and Rick, and you play Shane, and you're like shotgunning him in the face 80 times, and he's just going like, "Ow, ow,
Yeah.
Rick, don't do this. You're my brother." Ow,
Coral.
ow,
Coral.
it's so bad.
And then Forza Customs. I actually don't know what that is.
Oh, that's a mobile game, and if you're wondering who plays those match 3 type of games that are just like gems and you match 3 of them,
Jeff.
Sure.
it's me. It's me.
Well,
I'm one of
Damn
those
it,
guys.
Jeff.
I don't spend
Damn it.
money on them. I did when I had the money to spend, like years ago. But I don't anymore. Show some restraint. I lose. I go, okay, I'm gonna go play some other games then. But if I'm like passively watching something on TV, it is perfect for that because I can actually. It's not so loud and aggressive that I can't pay attention to what's on TV or whatever. It's like each level you complete, you get in-game credits. And that allows you to upgrade a car, or basically, like you're starting from scratch on a car. You get a beat up car, you strip it down, and you're putting brand new parts on it and preparing it for a race. And then you don't see it race. That's the catch.
Because you have to match up some gems. You can't
gotta
be
match up
racing
some
when you have
gems,
to
man.
match the gems.
And all the gems, like the special gems that you have to match up on occasion, are like related to things in garages. That's it. Harry
go.
Potter has one of these too, and I got addicted to that pretty hard, as well. I'm one of those type of mobile gamers. As soon as I see one that's more like you get like Royal Quest, sometimes you'll see ads for that. I'm not playing that. I'm never gonna play that.
Dude, the one I did play that I actually remember liking on the DS was Puzzle Quest.
Puzzle Quest rocks, yeah.
That was
that's
so
a match,
fun.
match 4, I think it is. But yeah, that's a great
but
one.
like, but it became clear over time, like, oh, there's strategy to how you want to match these. You're not just trying to make gems disappear. Like, you want to either attack or defend or heal or whatever. That was fun.
That sounds such cool. A good game. And
it's got
it's got a story. Yeah. It's not a great story, but it's got a story, and you level up your characters. Yeah. It's a real RPG. Yeah,
that's fun.
Just the turn-based combat is a match 4.
That is absolutely what Forza Customs is not. So that's cool.
By the way, Kyle, I had a random thought. We were talking about Warhammer. What if that's Larian's next game as a Warhammer game? How excited!
Oh, shut up! God, that would be so cool. They're handing off that license to literally anybody.
I know.
So
it's true. It's true.
God, let Larian do that.
God, I'm really hoping
it'll be another D&D game if I had to guess.
I mean, but there's Warhammer Fantasy. That's D&D.
I think it'll be Baldur's Gate 4. I think that's what they'll do, but I could be wrong.
Kyle's like, please.
Cool. Like
I'm over here like 4, wishing that like a bigger franchise would give them something to give them a good game finally. Like Star Trek still doesn't have that good game everybody talks about.
A Larian Star Trek game?
But Star Wars does. Star Wars has those Uncharted games, and it's perfect for that lane of that genre.
Yeah.
But I imagine like a Baldur's Gate type of choice-based, like characters just die. You get a ton of red shirts. They all die
different
off.
Planets.
All the and you're constantly having like you can destroy planets if you're not careful. Like, I mean, if anybody could do it, it would be them. But that's just me.
Isn't it funny? You could name like any IP with Larian, and it's like, ooh, that could be really good.
That could be really good. Yeah.
It does sound like they made it seem like they were IP shopping too. So I don't know if I don't know. Cool. Like I don't know what they're gonna go.
Cool
with,
if it was something. I have a feeling they're going to try and aim. I know D&D is already pretty high, but I have a feeling they're going to try and aim higher for something like more. D&D's already popular, I know, but something even more mainstream than that. As their next, the next game or the one after the next one, basically.
They're the ones that actually make a complete Dragon Age, you know?
Yeah, you said that, Jeff. I really hope that the announcement is they're making James Cameron's Avatar.
Yeah.
What choices do you have to make? Don't shoot the human. Who cares? Who gives a shit?
If anyone can make it good,
if anyone can make it good.
True. Yeah, if anybody can make me care about the Na'vi, it would be not James Cameron.
You don't think it's going to be Ubisoft next month?
Well, speaking of IPs and stuff, there's a new Apple TV show that's using a pretty major IP. It's this Godzilla IP. I guess that's just Monarch or Legacy of Monsters or whatever. Is that the name of it? Is it called Legacy of Monsters?
That's the title. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if is it set in the same universe as Godzilla Kong
as the things that have already happened. Yeah, Godzilla Kong Skull Island is I don't think Godzilla and Kong, because I think Godzilla versus Kong is present day and a lot of this takes place in the past.
Oh.
Okay.
So like everything I'm seeing so far is like stuff from like 2013 and stuff from the 30s. When did Skull Island take place? Was that like in Vietnam, right? That was Vietnam.
Vietnam.
So there's some stuff that happens in like the 30s or 40s in Skull Island in this show.
Because Loki's in that. He had traveled back in time. Go ahead.
Yes. Loki and Captain Marvel are both in that.
And Captain Marvel,
And Nick Fury.
All part of the MCU.
Yeah. And in this one you have shitty Captain America from the Falcon and Winter Soldier show in this show. And the guy who's playing the older version of him is Kurt Russell, which is appropriate. They're father and son.
That's what I say. That's his real father.
Okay. Yes, it is. And what's really funny is Wyatt Russell. You're not paying attention to when he's in other roles how different he is from his dad, but he is so different from his dad. But in this show, he's doing like a voice to sound like his dad, which is really funny. And he's actually obviously he's nailing it because it's his dad.
He's a great actor too.
Yeah, man. He really is.
Yeah, he's really great. Yeah.
And Kurt Russell finally shows up at the end of like episode 2 or something like that. I'm not gonna like spoil how they.
Because there's 2 timelines, right?
Yes.
Like he's obviously playing the younger version of himself,
right.
And then Kurt Russell's playing like the present day version.
And the younger, like Skull Island was like a full on invasion of this one team, basically on Skull Island. And in this one, it's more like Wyatt Russell and 2 other people, and one of them is Anders Holm from Workaholics.
Oh, I love it! Yeah, with a mustache. Yeah, he's getting work, baby. Yeah, good for him.
And like they're in that timeline of like the 30s, 40s, or whatever it is. Maybe I'm a little after. I don't even remember anymore. But they're there like just trying to figure out why they're getting radiation signal. Like basically they're following radiations. What do you call those things that scan for radiation? Whatever, that Chernobyl You hear the clicking and stuff.
I can kind of picture them
Radiation
using it
beeper.
in a show, but yeah.
Yeah. So basically, that
Radiation
was like a
beeper.
cover, and that was basically telling people to stay away from these areas that have monsters in them. That's basically what the lore is in the show, or in this world. So they're following the radiation to be like, what's this going to lead to? So that's the mystery of that timeline. And the second timeline is kind of dealing with more of like present day Monarch discovering old documents that they had. And like some of the characters had parents that used to work for Monarch, and they're like trying to figure out what did their parents have to do with this company. And this show makes me care about the humans. It's crazy. Like, it's almost like the movies have to concern themselves with spectacles, and TV shows don't have to do that at all. Like, so of course, suddenly I'm able to care about the characters because you can spread it out over 8 episodes or however long it is.
It's a little tricky to do 2 different timelines like that with 2 different groups of characters, right?
Yeah, and I don't realize it right away. Maybe because I'm playing such an amazing Match 3 game, Forza Customs, at the same time I'm watching the show. But
oh my gosh.
God damn it!
But a real 2-screen experience. Over
yeah,
here.
I know exactly. But they do like jump back and forth, and I'm like, wait, this is okay. This is clearly a different timeline. He's wearing like a different military uniform, yada yada. Anyway, the characters that like I don't recognize. There's 2 Japanese girls in the show, and I don't recognize them at all. But they're freaking outstanding. One of them was around in California for Godzilla 2014. One of them was around for that attack in San Francisco, and something traumatic happens during that attack where she was unable to save a lot of people that were in her care, and she is just traumatized by like all of the drills that they regularly have in Japan, where they're constantly having drills of like there's a Godzilla spotting or a seismic activity that can indicate she has panic attacks and stuff like that. And I'm like, what? None of this stuff is in any of the movies that I could give a crap about any of these characters. Like, it's just
it's just talking heads that talk their way into the next big fight. That's what
they're
they're
just explaining to us how the monsters moved from point A to point B.
Yeah, because of Hollow Earth or something. Yada yada. All right, now let them fight. Yeah,
I can see why
the
they
spectacles
that
were
movie
amazing though.
First of all,
I mean,
I just want to make it clear, I loved Kong versus Godzilla. I did.
I just bought that movie on 4K, man. It just came in today. I love that movie.
Not because of the humans, even a little bit.
No. Yeah.
And actually, you know what? This show is still. It's one of those great shows where you get sucked into the human drama, and then at the end of episode 2, a giant monster shows up, and you're like, "That's right. This takes place in the monsterverse."
It's in the title.
You forget for a minute, and that's the best when you're like enraptured by like something else entirely, and then you remember there's a spectacle involved.
It's
really pretty good for a show.
Anytime there's 2 storylines. About CGI. Is the CGI good?
It's very expensive.
It's Apple, so it better be good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good.
They got the monies.
They got the money, man. Yeah.
Anytime you have 2 different storylines and 2 different timelines, I always want them to like somehow connect over radio, like Jim Caviezel and Dennis Quaid from Frequency, and they can like give each other like.
What?
I like that movie so much.
I do
too.
But it's fun to make fun of too because it's so ridiculous. Yeah. But I do like that movie.
Son, you're gonna be Jesus someday. Remember that? Remember that line in the movie? Yeah, it was good.
That was a great line. That was a great line.
I remember that.
Believe it or not, it's actually really good. That dumb movie is really good.
It's one of those dumb mid-2000s movies that you're like, that was good, right? I'm not crazy, right?
Yeah, it is.
There's quite a few of those.
It's a good time. Also, Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, this new series on Netflix, is out. It's another animated series. I know there's some chatter about people not liking the direction they're going, but from what I heard, you guys like at least the first episode. Yeah,
I finished the first half. I think Kyle finished the whole thing.
I finished it.
Yeah.
I saw mostly good reviews, so I have.
The reviews are like.
But I guess good. Jeff maybe heard chatter.
I was going based off what Jeff said.
No. I think he was hearing conversations where I was just looking at headlines, and I think the headlines mostly liked it.
What is even
critics were like all over the moon for this because it's more like a what if storyline, kind of like what Marvel does.
I kept on seeing the term remix used a lot. It's a remix. They remix the story,
Yeah, so which is good to me because
85 on Metacritic. That's incredible for a show.
It's doing really well. So is Monarch, and it's crazy. Crazy good time right now for all mediums of entertainment. It's kind of stupid actually and disrespectful to our free time.
It is.
But this movie is like, this show is like, I'm actually grateful that it's like keeping me on my toes because if it was just a 1-to-1 adaptation of the movie, which is an adaptation in itself of a graphic novel or comic series.
Right.
Obviously, there's stuff cut out for the movie. I would kind of be like, oh, that's it, okay. So I'm kind of grateful that I'm like, oh, I don't know what's happening next.
Yeah, and it kind of all feels like it's all real too, you know. Like it all, because like there's a lot of gags about a director making a movie about Scott Pilgrim called Edgar Wrong instead of Edgar Wright, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just like stuff like that, you know, where I'm like, oh, okay,
where,
so like
Chris Evans'
we're
character plays Scott Pilgrim in the movie Scott Pilgrim. Yeah, it's
we're
so
recognizing
stupid.
that all the things exist. You know what I mean? Like it's so, you know, I kind of dug that about it.
I love that it literally looks like it's ripped out of the graphic novel. Like
it looks awesome.
They got the people who did the same. They got the people who did the music for the movie, I think, and the game too.
Metric,
so you'll hear a lot of the like chiptune stuff from the game, like music stuff, in there, and then you'll also hear like the punk rock, you know, like song from like the actual band, like doing the music too.
New songs, new songs, punk pop rock songs or whatever. That I'm like, oh, this wasn't in the movie at all, but it fits the vibe completely. It's perfect.
And they got everybody back, like every single person.
Yeah, there's not like a one-off character that you're like, that.
Yeah, like Jason Schwartzman isn't like played by somebody. You know what I mean? Like everybody came back. Yeah,
even like the guy who's like the first boy, the Bollywood boyfriend, ex-boyfriend is back, and he had no reason to come back. Like he's like, he dies in like the first 15 minutes of the movie. He had no reason to come back, but he's back. So like, yeah, it's really cool. And hearing Aubrey Plaza when she shows up and she's still doing the cussing thing, really funny in the show.
Nice.
Anna Kendrick works
so you're
really
saying
well.
If I enjoyed the movie, which I did, I've only seen it maybe twice, but I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
I should watch this show.
Yeah. It's a different vibe, you know, like it's the same like thing. Like, you know, Edgar Wright has a very particular style where everything's quick and like fast edits and like, you know, like this is not that, you know. This is a different vibe in that terms, but like I still get a lot of joy out of just like these characters in this universe and stuff like that.
It's still very funny.
I think it's very fun. Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll keep rolling on here. Please Don't Destroy the Treasure of Foggy Mountain is out on Peacock. If you're not familiar, these guys, they've been doing sketches for years. They've had a YouTube channel and stuff for a long time. And I don't remember exactly how it came to be that they joined SNL, if they signed a contract or what, however that worked.
I've been watching them on podcasts. They were on Conan and they were on Pete Holmes' podcast. And they were like, they didn't really do a formal audition. Lauren went to see them wherever they do their sketch comedy. And that's when they got the show, and
but they got hired like as a troupe.
Yes.
To, like,
and like they didn't even know until the first week. Lauren was like, "So are you guys doing?" However he talks, he was like, "So are you guys doing a digital short for us this week?" And they're like, "Oh, I mean, yeah, we can do that. I didn't know you wanted that from us."
And they don't always land, but more often than not, they are funny, and they're sometimes the best thing about that episode of SNL. Yeah. So they're very funny. So this movie's on Peacock if you've got access to that. Even if you have the lowest level, which I currently have, like because of Xfinity, I have the ad. But all I had to do was I think I had to watch 3 minutes of ads at the beginning, and then it was ad free for the movie, which was nice.
Oh, cool.
So I watched this. I know Jeff watched it. This is so dumb. It's such a dumb movie, but I was sitting there with my head. Of course, this is not a family movie, guys. It's absolutely not a family movie.
Not at all.
But I was like giggling to myself a lot, and I had multiple people in my family go like, "What are you laughing about?" And I'm like, "I'm just listening to something. Don't worry about it." But it makes me giggle a lot. I also just like their style of humor. I like how awkward they are. I like when they cut into like dumb rapper music video for no reason, like as they're like posing with no shirts on in the water after they find the treasure. Like, I don't know, man. Like I was really down for this kind of comedy in that moment. Maybe not all the time I will be, but I laughed so hard, and I really thought it was so funny. I recommend it if you like Super Troopers and other kind of like not necessarily slapstick, although that's part of it, but like really silly comedy where they're just having a lot of fun and you're just in a lighthearted mood. That's what this is.
They're definitely like the successors to Hot Rod and Pop Star, like the Lonely Island gang, basically, for a new generation because they're in their mid-20s. Because it's the same language of comedy. It's the same level of just absurd and dumb.
Yeah.
Like
to impress his girlfriend, he goes to get baptized, but not like a baptism you see sometimes where they dunk you under the water. He lays on the table in line with the other babies and lets the priest like sprinkle on him as a full grown man. Like,
and the way he turns his head over is like,
Yeah, the way he like looks at her while he's getting sprinkled. It's so funny.
He's wearing an oversized yellow suit during the
Sure.
baptism, and his friends are like, he looks like a pimp from a high school play. It's so freaking funny.
All the bits with the hawk, which is not good special effects, but
No.
it's still all the bits with the hawk are really funny. Where it's
Especially
chasing them.
the bird call is like I think in the beginning of the movie he goes, "This is a 3-in-1 bird caller," and when he blows into it, it's like, ah! It's literally just a dude screaming.
It sounds like
That's
a man
funny.
screaming, and so every time he blows it, everyone around him is like, "Ew, what was that?" But it's oh my god.
And there's a hilarious part later in the movie where the hawk's going away and he's blowing into it rapid fire. You just hear, ah, ah! So sad.
What a dumb
Oh my
movie.
God.
I'm gonna totally watch this again just because I need that kind of like silly belly laugh that
Yeah.
it's not even like, you ever watch like really clever humor? Like, man, that was witty and that was like, this is very clever, don't get me wrong, because it takes a lot of smarts to make dumb comedy work.
It really does.
It's just oh my, and the use of Conan is brilliant in this. There's
Yeah.
several times where I thought, man,
Oh,
he's
Conan's
perfect.
Dude,
in
they
it?
clearly let him just go.
Oh, yeah.
Like they let him improvise because he's very capable of that. You can see
He's only in it
podcast.
like a little bit, like maybe
Yeah.
10 minutes total in
at the
whole movie.
beginning and at the end.
Yeah.
There's a part where his son is presenting him why he should take over the store, which is like a Home Depot or outdoor Bass
He's
Pro
doing a
Shop.
presentation for his dad.
Yeah, and he's like, now we're gonna do Bass Pro Shop plus everything, so we're gonna sell everything. And he's like, so Conan is just saying
He
random
starts
things.
naming things.
Yeah, so we're gonna sell wizard hats. So we're
He's
gonna
like,
sell
yeah.
like, and I'm like, clearly he's just making stuff up, and they put it in the movie. And then there's
man,
a part
it's
where
really
he
good.
says the euphemism like glass half full or whatever, where he goes, love this line so much.
A glass that doesn't have enough liquid in
Yes.
it, or something like
You
that.
know how sometimes people say the glass that doesn't have adequate water in it, and sometimes it does.
He's like, that's not the saying.
Yeah, he goes, I think you mean glass half full, and he goes, you know what? Your generation just shortens everything to know it doesn't have any meaning anymore.
Sure.
Oh man, it's so good. There's also some cameos in there that are just perfect. There's some running
Yeah.
bits that work really well. Like, I don't know. If you like Please Don't Destroy, obviously watch this movie. And if you just kind of like really silly comedy like Hot Rod and
MacGruber, it's very
MacGruber.
MacGruber. Yeah.
there were actually moments where I literally thought, I wonder if anyone who helped with Super Troopers or Reno 911 had anything to do with this. There's just little
Yeah.
moments where I felt like there's certain elements of that type of comedy that played. Anyway, it's very.
By
very
the way,
funny.
you mentioned watching it again, and I did actually watch it again already, like yesterday.
Did you?
Like because the first time I watched it, the sound mix had the score way higher in my speakers. And so like I had a hard time making out a lot of the jokes. So I watched it again with subtitles, and I'm glad I did because I caught those like little throwaway lines in between. Like there's a part where they almost wreck their car on the way to getting the treasure. And the car that drives by is like,
I hope your
really
friendship falls apart.
I hope your friendship falls apart. What do you say?
They're like, wait, what is this?
So good. But it's so far in the distance, I didn't catch it the first time I watched it. Yeah.
That's one of
so
the
that was-
reasons I started giggling, because I barely heard it, but I was like, did he just say that? So I was just sitting there giggling, and I remember one of my sons was like, why do you keep laughing? And I'm like, I
So
can't even
dumb.
begin to explain to you.
And then like Bowen Yang as the cult leader is so great, especially the first time he's got that giant head on, and he keeps trying to guess what they are, their race and their gender and stuff.
it's
I'm
so,
so
good.
happy to be
you guys
joined
gotta-
by you handsome black fellas. Can you stop guessing our race? We're
Yeah.
not.
You guys got to watch it. It's really funny. Oh my goodness, I'm definitely gonna rewatch it. All right, let's fly through a few headlines here before we talk about other things we're planning to watch. And I know a few of us have some updates on other things. The Xbox release date for Baldur's Gate 3 is going to be announced at the Game Awards. I would not be surprised at all if it's available now or available this week or something like that. Oh, Kyle, you're muted.
I think it's going to be a shadow drop too. Yeah.
I think so. It's be a pretty exciting one, a good way for.
They
Microsoft
just said
this
it's coming out in
year.
2023, like a week ago. We're still on track and yada yada. It'd just be weird if the 5th, I think the awards are on, and they're like, in a couple weeks it'll be.
Right.
It just doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
2 weeks into
December
December releasing a
26th.
game.
Like, what?
Yeah, it's just weird to me. Yeah.
It'll be that day or that week.
Or that
coming
week.
up
Yeah,
this
yeah,
week,
yeah. I agree. Yeah.
Last of Us Part 2 remastered, as someone wrote in the notes, and we don't know who this is. There's no way to know. Someone wrote, "Stupid waste of time. Last of Us Part 2 remastered has been officially announced."
There's
course,
no way to know who editorialized this headline.
There's
Who
no
would
way.
do such
I mean,
a thing?
I definitely don't have a history button up there to see who made all this. But we heard rumors about this, and we were already criticizing it because we already thought part 1 was on the verge of being not worth it, even mainly because of the price point and
Yeah,
the fact that it's not that old of a game. It already got a remaster. This is really odd, but in the end, it was kind of like, hey, whatever, they did it, and now we got a modern version of it. Now it matches up with part 2. Now they're on par with each other. And so as you started to hear about part 2 remastered happening, it was like, why? But here's the good news. I really want to give this a positive spin. I think overall, it doesn't sound like it's nearly the same lift. Obviously, part 2 was much more advanced than part 1, just in terms of visuals and gameplay and all that. And the difference here is you're not spending $70 if you already own it. You just spend $10 if you own the PS4 version, and you get all the upgrades on the PS5.
Death Stranding did this. Death of Tsushima did this. Like every PS4 game did this.
As soon as I heard that, I was like, oh, well, then I don't care. This is fine. It doesn't sound like it's like, oh, because of this, we're not getting Uncharted 5. Like, that's not that kind of a. Like, part 1 felt a little more like, man, they really put a lot of work and time and effort and energy into this.
Yeah, they did.
For 7.
Yeah.
This one doesn't sound the same.
No, I wouldn't be surprised, and I know we use this term all the time, and we saw the pictures. There's not much of a difference, but like they just slid the shape. You know what I mean? They just slid the slider thing.
More powerful system running it.
Yeah. However they did it, like they just.
It's kind of like that scene in The Office where Michael asks the guy to crunch the numbers again. And he just goes crunch while pressing a button.
Yeah, just upgrade it.
That's what they did. They just went.
0.3 up.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we get Last of Us Part 2 on PC later next year as well.
I think this is for that. I think this is setting the ground for that for sure. Yeah. We're already here. We're working on it. We're moving things around because we're making the PC thing. Let's just re-release it on console too.
About because it takes away from us and blah blah blah.
And just to be clear, it's not just minor performance upgrades. Like they are adding new content.
Yeah, it's
and
not like there's
this
more stuff.
This roguelite mode or something like that I saw.
Yeah.
So some new areas to explore.
And that mode actually operates kind of like Remnant 2, where it's like you're just kind of thrown into random areas and you try to survive as long as you can, and then you get stuff at the end of the run.
I like that, and I'm gonna love it whenever we find out that this is just made from the bones of the multiplayer we're never gonna get. So we couldn't figure that out. So here's a single player version of it.
Probably what it is. Yeah.
So this is one of those ones where I'm like, oh no, this one makes sense. It's fine. You're upgrading one of your most popular games from one of your biggest IPs for your newest console. All right.
You're keeping the brand alive while a TV show's about, just came out and yada yada.
Agreed. It's too bad that I don't know. It's there's something about the momentum that built after part 1. We all assumed, myself included, that part 2 was going to be. They're doing this again. Like they're going to build up and release another $70 version of this, and I'm thankful that it's not that. So
people ramped up quick. Yeah.
All right. Indie World Showcase aired this week. Not a ton to spend really much time on here. There's some interesting things though, like the Shantae Advance. I'm not a big fan of the Shantae games. I think they're fine. I've played a couple of them.
Yeah, they're pretty decent.
But it was interesting that they had this lost game that was abandoned in the early 2000s. Same dev team came back, working with Way Forward to complete this Game Boy Advance style sequel. So it's like a game that they had started and kind of just shelved, and now they're like, let's finish it. So they're actually calling it Shantae Advance. Risky Revolution comes out next year.
There was one that I played that I actually did really like.
Fun. Yeah.
They've gone because it was still like it had a nice pixelated look to it so it felt like one of those classic games. But then the newer ones are more like really like sharp, like the character, like
they don't look quite right.
Yeah, it just looks. It doesn't. I don't know. It lost some of that like.
This is back to the pixelated GBA look, by the way. So it's
okay.
It's original. I mean, it's called Shantae Advance. Like it looks like a really nice looking Game Boy Advance game.
I gotta look this up because I didn't know.
A couple quick things. Core Keeper is a PC game that's now coming to Switch next summer. On Your Tail. So many anthropomorphic characters, like just so many. That was one of the themes of this Indie World Showcase, I thought. This game called Howl, I do think it's got interesting art style, so you can go check it out. It's like they're writing in a parchment book a little bit, like a few other games you've seen before. Very interesting turn-based looking game with this. They call it Living Ink art style. So I thought that was cool. Let's skip ahead here a little bit. Blade Chimera did look pretty cool. If you like 2D action games, I thought this style here, where your sword is actually this demon blade. It's kind of this post-apocalyptic world, side-scrolling action game. That one looks pretty cool. A Highland Song got little vibes of kind of Planet of Lana. I don't want to compare everything to that, but just that kind of very pretty and
it's very it is a good like reference point because I know exactly what you're talking about the second that you it's kind of like Planet of Lana, like I got an idea of what it looks like.
I can picture that, yeah. And the whole idea is that you're exploring Scotland. So Highland Song.
That one did look good to me.
It looks like a very pleasant little game. The demo is out now if you want to go try it, and it's coming out December 5th.
Literally just realized you're talking about Nintendo Indie World.
Yeah.
Completely.
Which I forgot to watch this, so whoops.
Yeah.
And then potentially a Dan and his wife game, Moonstone Island, comes out.
I've seen this one. This one looks very cute.
It's got a really interesting combination of creature collecting, deck building, and life sim stuff all mixed together. I was like, that sounds like a Daniel Freitas concoction if I've ever heard one. So
I like the look of it a lot. I just haven't seen much of like what happens in the game, but
the SNES style does look pretty cool.
Yeah.
Let's see. Outer Wilds is coming to the Switch, guys. Get excited.
Everybody's favorite.
Then they had a sizzle reel to close it out. Planet of Lana, speaking of which, is coming to Switch in the spring. It's a Switch game. When you look at it, like that looks like a game that should be on the Switch, and so it will be. I think that was the only other thing I wanted to highlight. Oh, and Braid Anniversary Edition confirmed for the Switch. For some reason, that was the only console they did not say it's coming to, but it is in April. So there you go. It wasn't necessarily one that's worth going to watch the whole thing. Maybe some of those trailers are worth going to take a look at. I did it for you. You don't have to.
Thank you.
Hero.
There was some content released this week about the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League game. I think it was it 20 minutes or so of video? Was it that much? Okay.
It was, yeah.
It was a lot of it was, it was a lot of gameplay actually, but yeah, there was
a lot of gameplay.
There was like maybe a quarter of it was the devs talking about what it is, and they really were hammering home that it's narrative driven, story based. They said it so many times that I'm pretty sure they're really trying to hammer home that it's not just a live
still
service
have not
game.
Said the term live as a service game yet.
Yeah.
They refuse to say that term because
they definitely
during their 9-year development cycle, that term has turned into a bad word. So
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's still going to be like premium packages where you can get cosmetic stuff, but
I think there's going to be dailies and objectives and yada yada. But like much like Avengers, kind of had like a story and stuff like that. It's going to lean way more into like you existing in a world and you going to the next story point or whatever.
Right.
So,
well, I can say the traversal at least looked pretty fun. I don't know that the combat looked all that satisfying, but I might just need to play it, kind of like Gotham Knights.
I really need to get my hands on it. Yeah. I have yet to be wowed by the combat, but traversal has never looked bad. Like it just it looks like
that's the only clip I saw was Harley Quinn like traveling around. I was like, that looks pretty fun.
Yeah. Boomerang too. He's got like the Flash, whatever bracelet that allows him to like throw his boomerang and teleport and stuff, and that looks super fun to travel around with.
Yeah.
But otherwise,
you're right.
it's still
you have to feel it. You have to like. You have to play
exactly.
the combat and see what does it feel like.
Because it just looks like, to me, it looks chaotic and like kind of like, whoa, that's a lot. But like, if you're playing something like that,
it kind of reminded me of what was that an old Insomniac game that was only on Xbox where you were grinding on everything. Sunset Overdrive. It kind of reminded me of Sunset Overdrive. I know you're not grinding a lot in this game or whatever, but just like that kind of like, here's a really weird looking world to like just run around in and do crazy kind of traversal stuff in. I got vibes of that, and I really like that game. So, if it's anything like that, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. And that is still slotted for a February release, so we will find out.
Yeah, they put
surprisingly
the
soon. That's not that far away.
I don't know how much you can get done, between May, its original release date, and now, but like 8 months, added on, or however many months that is added on. Like, I hope whatever they needed to change, they did, because I am rooting for Rocksteady. I think they're a great studio.
It's great.
So
I really do hope it's great.
Even Arkham Knight, which like I think people in hindsight like it more now, but like when it came out, kind of to tepid reviews and stuff like that, or tepid reception. If that PC
version weren't broken, I wonder if people would.
Yeah, and I don't know if they ever fixed it, to be honest, either. I mean, I know it was like completely broken. Like it wasn't
they removed it. They had to remove it from the store.
Yeah. So I do have good memories of that game, though. What a weird heady story for a Batman.
I never finished that one. That's always
weird. It's a weird one.
It's on my backlog of shame that I haven't finished.
I still got to finish that one too.
This one,
it's worth a double back.
Kind of giving me like energy of like Gotham. What was the newest one? The Gotham Knights.
Yeah.
the way people are talking about it, just automatically assuming things.
Yeah.
And just,
There
like-
is a bit of that. I feel like its story is already woven to the crowd. You know what I mean? Like Gotham Knights was, where it's like we're one
nothing you
announcement
can
of hearing
do. We
this is
hate it.
30 frames per second away from everyone just like being, like,
Oh, that
screw
is a
this
good
game then,
point.
like that would be the nail in the coffin.
It's
I think,
locked
for this
at 30
game.
frames.
It's
on all
locked at 30.
consoles.
Sorry,
Done.
everybody.
Yep.
It's not going to be. That's not a thing. But like, I feel like people have already made up their minds about this, and maybe myself included. I'm not wowed by this game at all, but like I want to be wowed. I long to be wowed by this game. So
it's like people were saying like, oh, why is it like no Batman? I don't give a shit. Like people are being with this one.
Yeah,
like I'm seeing people being
that.
like, not a Superman game. Like I don't care. It's like, all right,
they didn't make that. That's not what the game is. It's called Suicide Squad. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So
and we'll get more of that stuff down the line. I bet. I bet we get like a Batman Superman team up type of game, or maybe versus type of game. Down the line or whatever. It seems like Rocksteady enjoys being in this realm, this DC realm. So,
and I hope that flying around a Superman feels as good as when you're flying with Spider-Man on the new
sure,
the web wings that you can.
We're all dying for that.
I'm kind of hoping it feels like the N64 Superman, where you're flying through the rings. That's what I hope it feels like.
Yeah,
me too.
Oh my God,
I hope it's a mixture of those two.
That game
things.
was such a headache.
Yeah.
Oh man.
The game that 98% of people didn't get beyond the tutorial with. That's the one.
Boy, speaking of WB with some live service stuff, this Wonder Woman job posting really caused a kerfuffle. They should not have put it in there as an optional skill set to say, if you've worked with live service games, like you shouldn't have listed that.
Every HR department across, or PR department across the entire industry should be like, no one uses
Don't
that
say
word.
it.
You're not allowed, if we catch you using that word in an email, it's fireable offense.
You can't say service. Like we don't provide services. Don't say that.
If you say game, there has to be 100 words before you're allowed to say the word service. There has to be 100 words in between the two.
Don't be dropping the gas. Don't drop the gas.
That's right. But now they've come out and they've said adamantly it's not a live service game or that. So listen, I'll believe it when I see it.
That's the best.
That's the best way to same thing with Suicide Squad, same thing with Wonder Woman. The best way to win us over is show the game and let us actually experience it. And then that's all you can do. And some people are already going to hate it doesn't help that it's a woman either. There's already a lot of people who don't like it.
I know. Yeah. I can't believe they made Wonder Woman a woman, right? Right.
Yeah, what's that about?
Where's Wonder Man?
Hashtag not my Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Dragon's Dogma 2. We think the release date is now relatively official, although next week, the week after Thanksgiving, Capcom's announced there's going to be like an official presentation about Dragon's Dogma 2, where we'll, I assume, get the release date. But it seems like it's March 22nd of 2020.
I really love how much we haven't seen about this game. Like, we know what to expect. We don't need them to show us too much. And as much as they've shown, we've got excited. You showed us something about, where someone was throwing somebody else. Like, that was fun. We're getting enough stuff where I'm like, this is fun. I'm very excited to be going into this game like half blind. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I'm sure we'll get some kind of. We'll maybe get a blowout.
Showcase is going to have a bunch of content in it, I think.
But I don't know if they're going to overshow it. I don't know. I'm just guessing. But the way that they've been marketing it, it feels like they're keeping a lot of cards close to their chest, kind of like Tears of the Kingdom did, where it's like, you don't know anything about this game, guys. We're kind of showing you a couple things, but I'm interested to hear more about it, and I'm just so excited for this game. How is this game not the most anticipated game over Tekken for the Game Awards?
It should have been in there.
What the
like the thing, I don't know, that original one, like a lot of people liked it, but it had like a quirkiness to it, I think, that maybe just didn't hit like the way Tekken.
More of a cult classic after a little
while.
Yeah.
That I think got bigger as time went on too. I think like more people went back to find it.
I feel like that game, Dan? I know Kyle, you did, right?
Yeah. I never went back and finished like Dark Arisen, because there's the Dark Arisen version, but the OG one I did.
Dark Arisen is, I hear, the way to play that game too.
Right.
It was it was like a soft reboot, pretty much. Of that,
have it. Yeah. It's another one. It's like
I own that game on every console that I have.
That's because it's been so cheap. It's been like
I know. Yeah. I bought on the Steam Deck. I have a 20-hour game like on my Switch. I've got a 40-hour game on my PS4. It's just like one day I might beat it, but no, the second one's gonna come out. I'll just play that.
That's right. All right, well, let's wrap things up with other stuff we're playing or watching. I'll give you my quick hits real quick, and we'll go to Kyle. Watched a few documentaries. I do like a good sports doc, so I was catching up on some Netflix Untold docs. They're kind of like in the 30 for 30 vein from ESPN. I really like the way they do those. So the two that I watched were Hall of Shame, which was all about steroids and doping in sports. That one was really interesting. They actually have the guy who was distributing a ton to people like everyone from Marion Jones to Barry Bonds and like to everybody, to all sorts of people. And they were interviewing folks on both sides of that issue. I thought that one was good. And then I really liked Breaking Point. It's about Marty Fish. I feel like one of you might have talked about this at one point, but he's one of those guys in tennis that I'm like, I've heard that name. I feel like was he good? I think he was good. No, he was excellent. He was on the rise and then had essentially undiagnosed severe panic anxiety disorder. And it ended up being a thing where he walked away mid-tournament, was about to go against Roger Federer, and just got there and could not go out and just left. And he was just like in the middle of this panic attack. And I didn't realize he like pretty much grew up with Andy Roddick, the much more well-known tennis player.
And who was like, he's in that documentary.
And he's in it a lot. Yeah. So it's a very personal, I thought, really good story, mostly about the pressure and anxiety that you can feel when mental health isn't really. So I personally really appreciated that. I thought that because it's such a real issue for a lot of people, and I just thought it was.
I never thought I'd get that out of a tennis documentary because I didn't give a shit about tennis at all.
Yeah.
But that was very insightful. Yeah.
It was a really good one. I recommend that if you like good sports doc. And then of course, my only game all week outside of playing some Mario RPG, we already talked about that. I've been playing Cyberpunk 2077. Just all week. So many hours. So many hours of that game. Thanks, Trump.
So many.
Good moves. So yeah, I finished it. I got a really good ending. I loved the ending. I played as Male V, did the whole storyline with most of the potential love interests. I finished their stories, but ended up being like in the relationship with Pan Am. I think that's kind of the main one that the Male V is supposed to be with. Supposed to be with. Loved that whole storyline. Plus, I was a nomad, so their match totally made sense. I used that conversation option a lot. I thought that just added in my like headcanon for my V story. It made him like this nomad who's now been in the city for a while, but he kind of wants to go back. Like he always refers to nomad stuff. So that ending made sense. Then I did the whole Aldecaldo's ending without spoiling too much. If you guys haven't gotten that ending before, it was a really good one.
Yeah,
kind of has a lot of. I think most of the endings have an element of bittersweetness to them. Some of them just bitter. But
there's a lead up though, where like y'all are all like driving in your cars, like towards like the last mission, and it's just like it's like 20. It's so cool.
Yeah, I did that
too.
It's
this whole like big battle sequence that is so awesome, and it's just huge
on a scale that the game hadn't shown yet. Like it's like this is like a much. Like
I thought I was playing a Halo.
It feels like you're on a suicide mission.
It was a little like Halo, a little Call of Duty-esque in some ways. It was very cinematic. I really, really enjoyed that a lot. And then I guess I got a little overpowered because that final boss fight was not difficult. Like
no. If you did everything like you said you did, like you're way overpowered.
I was a little too strong, I think. But I played as like a rip and tear. I got to that perk. So I'm all about shotguns and LMGs, and I'm just dashing around and towards enemies as much as I can.
Sounds like a really fun build.
And they're just literally blowing into pieces. There's a skill called Obliterate, and you can continue to upgrade that to where enemies, and sometimes enemies beside them, their limbs and bodies will just blow to pieces at random as you shoot them.
All right. So, well, I know the build I'm doing next because I
do.
That's a good build for a nomad too. That makes sense.
Unbelievable. Yeah, it's really cool. And I thought I was building one that I'd do some shotgun and some melee. I thought I'd be smashing. I haven't used melee like at all. I'm just using these awesome shotguns and these LMGs, and I get all these perks with the LMG where as soon as you kill an enemy, it'll give you 20% of your ammo back. And so I can just like hold in the shoot button and just like mow guys down. It's like blowing up. Yeah. I'm like, this is so cool. So I had a blast doing that. I felt like I was playing Doom more than like a Deus Ex type of a game. You know, when you play those kind of games, you think
Yeah.
Oh, and
Yeah,
you
but
can
there's
go,
certainly those
you
Deus
can go
Ex builds available for
yeah,
sure.
you
Yeah.
can go
Yeah. That's
stealth,
that's what's cool
cyberpunk.
about that game is like you can turn it into that kind of game by
Yeah.
choosing that build. You know what I mean? But like my game doesn't play like Doom at all. You know, like so it's like
Okay,
this.
yeah.
It's so interesting that like however you choose to play, like it kind of turns it into a different genre of a game almost.
Yeah, there's a mission where you're going with Rogue into this port to get onto this ship to figure out what's going on. It's part of like a major side quest you're trying to help Johnny with. And it is several sections where I kind of looked up a guide just to see what they recommend. They had all these stealth guides, and they looked very lengthy with all these steps of how to properly stealth through these guys and take them out in the right way.
I might, because I beat that at launch, I might have stealth through that because I was so OP by that point that I was just literally hacking everybody to death.
I just ran up to the front gate and started shooting, and I just like busted through everything. It was
funny.
so satisfying.
Yeah.
And I had all this adrenaline that starts stacking, so my health bar got really big and yellow. Like I felt invincible. So
Yeah.
I'm bringing all that up just to say, like, this game can make you feel like the best stealth cyber hacker and also the most indestructible Doomslayer guy. It's all in the same game where you can
Yeah.
feel this way.
I made a sword build
really
guide,
sucks.
and I'm telling you, like being able to like slice people's legs off and arms off and heads off and stuff like that, as you're just like zipping around everywhere. It's just like
I maxed
it's so
out
cool.
I maxed out 3 trees, and it was all like one was hacking related, and that took a backseat to my SMG stuff, where I was just like auto reloading basically. As soon as I emptied one clip, I switched to the next SMG, and it auto reloads the SMG I just switched from. And then when I ran out of that one, I went to my sword, and I would I maxed out the dashing, so I dash up to somebody with a sword, and because I had
that's awesome.
Because I had the perk that maxes out like your damage when you dash right after you dash, it was like just immediate death for them. It was like
that's awesome.
I had a cadence to my combat by especially by
Dude, they do that with all the builds, because like on the rip and tear side with underbody on the top left, it gives you 100% bonus damage to a shotgun blast after you do a melee hit, or vice versa, to a melee hit after you do a shotgun blast. So it wants you to sprint towards enemies, hit them with the butt of your gun, and shoot them with the shotgun, or vice versa, hit them with the shotgun and then hit them. And the damage numbers were insane.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah.
And so fun. Like really, really fun. So, which is not the way I thought I'd play this game. I love a Hitman game. Like I love playing stealth. That's how I usually choose to play.
That's how I beat it at launch, was all stealth. So I mean, I was surprised at myself for switching it up suddenly on the same run that I had at launch. So, but it was just so much more satisfying. I'm
now at the crossroads because I've gone back and I finished a few side quests that are, I kind of wanted to see through and like level up a little more. And I'm about to start Phantom Liberty proper, because I had started it before. I think I told you guys I started it with a brand new character just to try out Phantom Liberty for like an hour. So I'm going to try it proper with this main character. Now I'm like, well, I freaking love this style of play so much. Do I just play it the way I'm used to and just go enjoy the story, or do I, because I have the one respec that I can do with my character, do I respec and go totally different and try to learn a new way to play? It's just risky,
I would only do it. I would only respec. I respect, not respect proper, my perks once, because I got these smart weapons that were way more powerful than my power weapons that I had. So I was like, okay, so I shifted all my perks from one skill tree to the other. And it was all, the smart weapons were just like bullets were flying like in 5 different directions, aiming at enemies like, automatically for me and into their heads and stuff. And it was really fun.
By the way, those bullets don't work like at all. I tried using a smart gun. I forgot I had none of those skills upgraded, and it barely.
Yeah, you have to have it in your cyberware too.
It's almost like it just goes like it doesn't really.
Yeah, exactly.
Does not compute.
You have to have it in your hand, I think. But that was fun for a time, and then as soon as I got the SMG, like the most powerful SMGs I could find, 2 of them, I was like, let's go back to that. We have to go back to that skill tree.
I have to go back.
And I just never went back to unloading on all the guys. Full ass.
So I overall loved the story. I think the characters are all really well acted, and there's not a whole lot of well-known voice actors in there. There are some. There's a couple, obviously, with the Johnny Silverhand character.
Ever heard of him? Keanu.
And obviously within the Phantom Liberty, you've got Idris Elba. But outside of those characters, there's a lot of really well acted and performed characters that I didn't recognize, at least the voice actor for a lot.
Witcher 3 was kind of that way too. Where are they finding all these
really
good voice actors?
Yeah, they're all like from. This is a Polish company, right?
Yeah.
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 Like where in Poland are all of these amazing English speakers that they're like, because
No,
you know
it's like
Vic was
what are they
Vic
doing, like
was
Skype
Polish.
interviews and then like flying them out?
Skype, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, can you say this horrific line from this futuristic
Yeah.
game for us real quick? Yeah. So I overall really
perfect American accent.
enjoyed the story. I liked it a lot. Actually, it makes me want more of this game. I did have some technical glitches. It's funny, after I told you guys I've had maybe 4 or 5 crashes, I had probably 4 or 5 more over the next 10. Like they seem to pick up a little bit, which was a bummer to me. So I did have a number of additional crashes, probably about 10 total in 40 hours of playing, which maybe isn't a ton. It was still more than I wanted. Thankfully, only one occasion did it really make me frustrated because of what I lost. Every other time it loaded me back to a pretty similar spot, and it wasn't too big of a deal. One time I was like, crap, I have to redo all this. So there was one of those. And then technically just a few other things, like a character standing halfway in the ground, or like cars doing really weird things. Like I'd load in and cars would be like falling from the sky. I don't know why
funny.
Up there. Like
that's how things load in. I mean that's like
Starfield
a
does that too, yeah.
Bethesda issue too.
But like they didn't just land and kind of drive; they like exploded. They were like huge explosions of people running.
Actually, GTA. I remember GTA doing that too.
GTA, everything loads down. Yeah, you just don't see it because it's supposed to load properly. You know?
Properly.
Yeah.
I love that. See, that cracks me up though. That shit cracks me up.
It does. Yeah, it'd be frustrating if you're on your 10th, crash, and then you see that. And you're like, what the fuck? But
I love
that
whole glitch of seeing people in the ground is so funny to me every time, especially when it's cops and they're just like doing a beat.
I miss all the T-poses from launch. That's what I miss.
I didn't see any T-poses.
That's because you didn't play that launch. Yeah, or you did, but you didn't. Yeah, you did.
I only saw one T-pose when we first started playing. It was a guy on a motorcycle. He was going like this, and his body was in the motorcycle.
I had some great T-poses in my game where I'm just like, I can't even get mad at this. This is just stupid.
I can't even
so
get
funny. Yeah. You're gonna love if you love the main game this much, you're gonna love Phantom Liberty.
I
for
did,
sure.
and I also it's one of those things where, having watched Edge Runners very recently, I enjoyed the game story and lore probably more just because I was like, oh yeah, I remember that from Edge Runners, which I know is backwards. I know you're supposed to play the game.
I think it's all a doorway. You know what I mean? I think no matter what way you get into it, it's the next thing's gonna help the other thing to get enjoyed more. You know?
Yeah, there were some characters and things referenced, like even events that were referenced. I was like, oh yeah, they talked about that in Edge Runners. That's cool. Yeah. So anyway, I love this game. It would be impossible to re-rank 2020, which means I'm going to make us do it at some point in the coming months.
Sure.
Not only has that game been one of the most improved games ever, it's up there. There's other games that have improved. No Man's Sky is up there, but this is one of the most improved games ever. But now it kind of stands as like, all right, how does this hold up against Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima? It's up there, man.
Right. Shush went on to have like one of the best expansions ever, also just like,
just like this.
So.
And multiplayer,
hella good free multiplayer that no one expected. Yeah.
And Last of Us Part 2 went on to be remastered 3 years later. It's awesome.
And Last of Us Part 2 is gonna get remastered 7 more times.
7 more times.
So.
It's the new GTA 5.
Yeah.
All right, so that's a lot. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk that long about it, but I love Cyberpunk 2077. I liked it before, love it to death now. Like it's so good.
It's all there. All the stuff that CD Projekt Red is good at, it's all in the game. It's baked in.
It's the same love that I felt for The Witcher in a lot of ways, where I'm just kind of like, yep, I don't want to play anything else. This is all I want to play. Yeah. Kyle, what about you? What have you been playing or watching?
Oh goodness, I did beat Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who made too long of a title.
Sure.
I really liked it. I got about 30 hours in. I did just about everything. There's a couple things I'm like, I'm not gonna grind for this. I'm about to do all this again here, like in January. So I'm not gonna sit here and like squeeze every ounce out of this game whenever I get a bigger game on the way. I really liked it. I think it has the most emotional ending of any of the games. I was like, Derek's not here anymore, so I can say I cried. It was rough.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, he's not here anymore to bully me, so I can say that.
Baby.
No, shut up. It was really good. I liked it a lot. It was like 6 games worth, 7 games worth of culmination with Yakuza 0. Culmination. So like it impact right. I think the Coliseum, which is kind of like a fight tournament, is the best side thing they've ever created. So it's like They've always have kind of like a really in-depth side thing that you always do to kind of make money. This is that for this game. It's just really, really well done because it's combat focused, which is why you play these games. The story is really great, and that leads me into whenever I beat that, it unlocked the demo, so I was able to play the demo.
Infinite
for
Wealth.
Like a Dragon 8, and it is very good. I was surprised by how different the combat is. It is still turn-based, but like there are moments where it doesn't feel turn-based at all because of the way that you can move and the way that you interact with the combat system. There's even a move like when you press it, it just becomes live action, not live action. It just becomes real time. And you just run up and you do old school combos to people, But it is a move that you choose from a menu still. But whenever you take your turn, you run up and actually do, 1-2 hit combo or whatever. So I thought that was really cool.
Huh.
I thought it being in Hawaii, I was like, oh, that's going to be a kind of a cool, not gimmick, that's not the right word, but I'm like, oh, they're doing something different. Yeah. Putting it in Hawaii changes everything. Like the way that everything feels is different. Because like everything in the Yakuza Like a Dragon series is always like dense urban, cities. You know what I mean? Like sure. So like just towering buildings, yada yada. This is Hawaii. So there's beaches, there's long open areas and stuff like that, of parks and everything like that.
Which island does it take place on?
I don't remember. I think it's Honolulu if I had to take a guess, but I'm not 100%.
Oahu. Oahu.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's the big island. Yeah, it just feels different enough, and it's just weird. Like walking up and like nothing's in Japanese. Like it's America, so like there's like all the signs are in English. Like all the hors d'oeuvres and eateries and stuff like that. Like you're eating burgers instead of rice balls and stuff like that in this game. So It's just like it just feels different enough. I know it's silly to say you're just trading one city for another, but like the vibes are different. Like so much of the Yakuza series has always been about like it being in Japan and it being a Japanese tourist simulator. And now, like, you're in a different part of the world. It just feels different.
That's a big change.
I'm excited for that freshness.
I didn't know that was
I didn't know it was going to change it that much. I would have called you silly if people were like, "Oh, changing it to Hawaii changes everything." I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm sure it does.
I kind of want to play it now just because it's Hawaii.
yeah, Hawaii's cool. It's a cool area, man. I'm excited to play it. And the story, I'm assuming it's going to be amazing because the way that the last one left off and set this next one up, I'm just like, yes, I can't wait to see what's going to happen next year. I also have been playing more Star Ocean Second Story R. This game is so charming, man. I like this game so much. I cannot believe I didn't play this game before. It's crazy, especially because I went my entire life thinking that it'd never come here, but apparently that was the first game. So like I just went my whole life going, it just started with 3, I guess, and so getting to play this game is really cool. There's a really big story moment that happens like pretty early. That's just like really cool. And that hooked me pretty well. And I like the combat a lot, and the characters are growing on me, but I'm not far enough in to be like, oh, these characters are so cool. Yeah. I'm also still working my way through Baldur's Gate 3. Derek's not here, so I have to talk about Baldur's Gate 3. I'm carrying on his legacy of talking about this game for weeks and weeks and weeks at a time. It's great. I don't really have anything else to say that's new about it. It just feels like I'm reaching the end game. Everything feels big. Thinking about where I started on this journey and where I am now, it just feels crazy that all this stuff has happened, that all this stuff happened because of the things that I chose. Hearing other people talk about parts of the game that like were completely locked off to me because I didn't make decisions in a certain way and stuff like that. It just blows my mind that this game is like a forever game. Like you could buy this game, it could be your one and only game for years and years and years, and you probably won't see you'll never see everything. Like it's just crazy. So yeah, I'm really enjoying my game nights with that. I am still playing that multiplayer. With buddies. The fact that we're still meeting up at least once a week is crazy to me. I thought someone would have like fallen off by now. So probably me most likely because I have such gamer ADD. So
sounds like an extremely overrated experience. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
So overrated.
Yeah. It's definitely not going to sweep everything at the awards.
Not at all.
Quick other hits, movies. I finally watched that Flashpoint movie, that Kung Fu movie I was talking about a couple months back. It delivered. What a great movie. One of the best one-on-one action sequences ever, for kung fu movies. Very, very, very good. Donnie Yen movie, super fun.
Okay.
Highly recommended. I think you can watch it on Amazon Prime, not 100% sure. And then show-wise, Jeff reminded me that the creator of the OA made a show called Murder at the End of the World that just started. I just started that. It's good. I like it. It is a detective, new age, kind of noir-y type story or whatever. I just know there's going to be some crazy twist at some point because, like,
Yes.
I don't think that the OA guy could, like, or girl. Is it a girl?
Both. It's both. It's a guy and a girl. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize they were a duo. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'd have to have two people to keep all this in line, or the
Yeah.
OA.
Okay. Yeah. Apparently, I read a detail from an excerpt from somebody that worked on this show, and I think they might have worked on the OA too. They were like, yeah. So the woman, Britt Marling, who's a star in the show, and she was in the OA as well.
Yeah.
She's
Britta's
like
lesbian girlfriend.
She
in Community.
knows exactly. Yes, she's the lesbian. Yeah, Britta's lesbian, fake love interest.
Oh, okay.
Both pretending to be gay.
They're both pretending to be gay.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's a great punchline.
Good bit. What a great bit. Yeah.
She's the one that's kind of got her head on straight with what she wants the show to be, whereas the other guy's kind of like, I don't know what we should do here. Like, he's on day-to-day stuff. He's not very decisive, but he's more of like a big picture thinker, apparently. So they complement each other in that way, I guess.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
She's minutia. He's big picture. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Where I just love that. Yeah, I love that whole sense of like something weird is going to happen any second now, especially when in the opening, I think the opening like 30 minutes of episode 1, which is a little bit over an hour, she's talking to like an algorithm that she can only see through her phone. Like it's a projection. It's like a person that's walking up to her, but she can only see it through her camera.
It's like augmented reality.
Augmented reality.
Yeah. Pokemon Go, I get it.
It's a straight up
Pokemon
dude.
Go. Yeah, he is a Pokemon in Pokemon Go. Yeah,
I get
it's like a fully sentient Alexa. Don't activate. Shut up.
Yeah. Oh, Jeff's computer just turned off.
It's straight up like the Alexa. So it's straight up like that. And so like she's talking to that type of whatever you want to call it, AI algorithm thing throughout all of episode 2 as well, because it's like an entity that lives in the house that she's staying at. And she's staying at the house of a guy who's the actor again? It's like a
Clive Owen.
Clive Owen, obviously.
Oh.
Yeah. Famous guy.
A little indie guy, Clive Owen,
Yeah, he the guy from Shoot 'em Up, most famously, Shoot 'em Up.
Yeah, that's the only movie
that's
he's
the
ever
one?
been in, Shoot 'em Up.
That little
Just
indie
Shoot 'em
movie,
Up.
Children of Men.
Never heard of it. But he's he plays
More like Children
kind
of Meh. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, exactly. Children of Meh. He plays like a tech expert type of Elon adjacent figure.
Yeah.
Obviously, is a little more brilliant than that. It strikes me as a little more brilliant than that. I guess.
Like if Elon was actually like who he said he was. That's what he's playing.
Right.
That's well said. I like that.
Yeah. I do like that about I do like his character a lot because I'm just like, this guy's up to something,
He
I just
knows so much more about what's going on in the house. There's other actors that Kyle and I recognize from things. Like I recognize the lead actress Emma Corrin from playing Princess Diana in The Crown. I don't know that anybody else would have seen that's present, but that's what I know her from.
Oh.
And then there's the guy from Triangle of Sadness.
Because I'm a man, Jeff. I don't watch The Crown.
I was actually about to mention that in my quick hits. Okay, and
Oh,
you're
my
gonna
bad.
listen to
We'll
it.
make it
for a
quick.
minute.
No, I'm kidding.
No, I actually will. And then there's
I think that was Kyle's last thing anyway, so you can go right into your
there's
stuff.
the guy who was who's the lead from Triangle of Sadness that Kyle and I watched. And
Love that movie. He's getting it too. Yeah. I like this movie. Like the kind of quick pitches is that like this girl Darby, she's like the main character. Yeah. She's like a young Sherlock Holmes type, where it's like she's kind of a savant at like a Will Graham type from Hannibal. She can just like walk on to like, a crime scene and just kind of get what happened here. You know what I mean? Like not via superpowers or anything. She's just really smart. She's really observant and stuff like that. And like that's what the story is about. And she gets invited to this like function with not Elon Musk, where all the smartest people from all these different fields are kind of coming together to like solve world problems as kind of like a getaway. And then someone ends up dying, and they're all the way out in the middle of nowhere. There's not going to be police.
Is it Antarctica or Iceland or something like that?
Yeah. Iceland or Greenland or something like that. And now they're in this house one of them had to have killed this person, and it's a whodunit, like Knives
Glass
Out kind of
Onion.
whodunit thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Glass Onion type of thing, you know, where it's like, yeah, more like Glass Onion, where it's like, yeah, that there's not just cops down the road or anything like that. Like they're all stuck here in this like building, kind of, you know, like, oh, who did this? And like that's kind of where we're at with the show right now. So like that's the setup. Yeah,
it's cool. But we fully expect, knowing what we know from the OA, we're fully expecting some.
And I would say to go and watch the OA, but you're just gonna be mad. So
yeah, it got canceled prematurely.
The collective we, not like the we.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Yeah.
By the way, when you mentioned Sherlock Holmes, I just remembered the Pete Holmes sketch where he's Sherlock, but he gets everything wrong.
I don't remember that. I gotta go back and watch that
because he does a great Sherlock, and he like. And it does the whole, like, whoever edited it did exactly like the Robert Downey Jones.
Yeah, I do remember.
Where it like zooms into the details and stuff,
yeah.
And he like points out all these things, but he's wrong.
Are they all irrelevant or something, or is that the joke? Like,
no, like he's observing things, he's making assumptions about them. Like, nope, that's not at all.
Yeah, it's just obviously wrong.
But he tries again, and he's still wrong. It's just so good. It's really good.
I love that guy so much.
Yeah.
Was that the last thing you had, Kyle?
That's it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hey guys, I'm watching The Crown. Ever heard of it? No, I've been on a slow journey with this show, much like the show itself is kind of slow too. But I'm in season 5, which came out last year, and I'm always like a year behind on this show. And they just started airing its final season, and they're splitting it up into 2 parts, understandably so they can cover, you know, the Queen dying and Prince Harry deciding he doesn't want to do any of the stuff anymore.
I don't want it.
I don't want it. She's my queen. The girl.
My mom's not my queen.
The girl from Suits is my queen.
The girl from Suits.
That's who she is.
Yeah, no, that'd be funny if he said that.
I know.
My headcanon is that like he was the biggest fan of Suits ever. Yes. And like just being a prince got him in, and he's like, yeah, I got her, guys. I married the girl from Suits. You know,
ladies and gentlemen, we got her.
And his whole family's racist, so they're like, no, don't do that.
Yeah, exactly. The least surprising revelation on the planet.
I know, yeah. Right.
I mean, the show is what you expect. If you're really not into the monarchy like at all, obviously it's not going to be intriguing. But they jump around a lot in timelines, so it's never like one episode focuses on a day. It's always like one episode focuses on like a brief period in time during her reign, where this happened in Egypt, or this thing happened somewhere else in the country, in the world even. So like it's all, like a moment in time that you'll recognize, and we're getting closer. I'm in the moment now where it's closer to the 90s, and the tall girl from Guardians 3 and Tenet is playing Diana now, and we're in the 90s, and like she's closer to that accident. I don't know how the show handles it. I hear that they're getting closer to fantasy now more than ever, and that it's just basically BS at this point. Like the show is just nonsense now. Whereas they were trying at first. Now it's just like, I give up, whatever. It's just make stuff up. Who cares?
It's so funny. The history is written. You could just
just like Wikipedia.
just follow
Wikipedia. It's right.
The script's already there. Yeah.
In fact, this is like the most documented like government, whatever you want to call it, entity in the history of the world. Anyway, I'm watching that, and you mentioned Murder at the End of the World. I'm enjoying that as well. The Pacific, I got 2 episodes left of that, and the first episode is it shows some of the brutality that you see in the Japanese side of the war, the Pacific Theater.
And it slows right down.
And then it slows way down to like, hey, we're going on leave in Australia. We're going to do some girls. And they do that for like 2 episodes. And then it picks back up. Hell yeah. Sold. Say no more.
Hell yeah, brother.
I didn't tell you, it gets to the war part again. And you're like, sold.
Nah, man, yeah. That part's the best, man. Yeah, those poor kids deserve that, man.
Then there's like, I want to say it's like a 4-episode stretch of just nonstop battles, or like nonstop paranoia of shooting starting at some point. And then of course shooting does start, and it's just dreadful.
That whole taking back the airfield scene where everything's kind of like ash and stuff was so good. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't know which episode, because the Battle of Pelilu, whatever, that really small island that's the first airport, whatever. I don't
remember the name of them, but I know there's an airfield they have to take back, and it seems pretty hopeless.
Well, they have to do it in that's an airfield, whatever island, and so is Iwo Jima. That's why they had to take Iwo Jima. And Iwo Jima is episode 8 or 7.
It's
Maybe I
been a
have 3
while.
left. Maybe I have 3 left. They all kind of blur together because it's all supposed to be one continuous thing.
Yeah.
No, it's episode 8. So episode 8 is Iwo Jima, and that one is the one that's like, this is just chaos, and like nobody's gonna live past this. And sure enough, I was right. There was a lot of death in that episode. Yeah, it's so freaking good, man. And that kid from Jurassic Park is just he's like the perfect kid to cast in this type of role. That's like an overeager kid that wants to serve his country, but a heart murmur, yada yada.
Yeah, he's Steve Rogers pretty much. It's the same story.
Basically, but the war is like war is just doing a number on him slowly and progressively each episode.
Yeah.
Where like he's scolding people for being what he feels is morally reprehensible to like the corpses of Japanese soldiers and stuff. And then 2 episodes later, he's like doing the same thing they were about to do. He's like, and even Rami Malek, who's like kind of sadistic in the show, is like, you shouldn't do that, Mr. Robot.
Oh, Rami Malek is in that?
Yeah. There's a lot of recognizable.
Band of Brothers in the Pacific, like you'll be like, holy, everybody's in this show.
Everyone's
young and in this show. Yeah.
John Bernthal, almost said Shane, gets in some solid head rubs in this show too.
Head rubs,
it's part of his contract.
He's thinking about some
stuff. He's got to rub his head all the time. Rick, I gotta bang your wife, Rick.
It's great though, and it's all in preparation.
What's his line he always says? Does he say, "Let me tell you something," or can I tell you? Doesn't he have like a line?
Does he?
I think you're right.
I think you're right. Yeah, because I think I remember seeing a clip show, or like a YouTube clip of like him repeating the same line over and over.
Yeah.
Or the head rub montage.
Yeah. There's something about, like, when an actor's kind of getting into the role and they have the script, but like he's got these little sayings and quirks.
He's got these little ad libs that he does in every line.
I'm pretty sure one of his is like some form of "let me tell you something."
Let me tell you something. All right.
It's something like that.
Here's the deal. All right.
Google's not helping right now, but yeah.
But anyway, this is all a lead up into Masters of the Air, which is the 3rd World War II series coming from Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg.
Oh yeah, by the way, it's "Let me tell you something."
Let me tell you something. Right. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
And he's always got to do like a little readjustment in his.
He's always moving. That guy's really antsy. Yeah.
Let me tell you, I was watching.
He's not long for this world.
Is he in The Wire? No. It was the show by the guy who did The Wire about Maryland cops. And he opens. It's so funny, the visual of it, because I already made fun of him in my head for how he stands as an actor, but he opens a door full of like money, I think, that he's just going to steal because he's a crooked cop. And as soon as he opens the door, his arms just like hang and they're just like doing this. Like it's such a John Bernthal thing to have your arms be so extra and like you're just supposed to be an idle person, but he's like he's just always got to do something. So
apparently there's a really high count of that. Or "Let me ask you something." It's those two. Like, let me tell you something. Or let me ask you something.
Let me ask you something.
Is this also Walking Dead too?
In Walking Dead, yeah, it's a big one.
I wonder if it's because he's trying to make the script interesting when he knows it's boring as hell. What do I got to wrap up with?
Go back and watch that 2nd season and tell me it's not the most boring thing in the entire.
So boring. We got to stay on the farm.
Kyle, I'm not going to go back and watch any of those.
You know why? Because it's boring.
Not good. I liked it at the time. I really did.
I did too. No, I did too. Yeah, I was still sipping the Kool-Aid.
I even apologized for the Governor arc, and that was ass.
I like the Governor arc. Yeah.
I apologized for it.
I did.
I was out there defending it, man.
And then I read the comics, and I was like, "Oh, this was bad."
I remember when they did the Look at the Flowers episode, and I was like, "This is really good television." And I don't know what happened.
I would watch the Chris Hardwick like after show conversation about
it. We all drank the Kool-Aid at some point. We all figured. We all woke up from the Matrix.
Do they even do that show anymore? Is there even a point to doing that show anymore?
I don't think he's allowed.
No, they don't do Talking Dead anymore. No,
there's no way.
There's still 17 different shows going on, but
So gaming wise, I played the Beyond Sunset demo. Not for me. It's that pixelated game that came out last year, I think, or last week. That was like
the shooter one.
Yeah, it's kind of cyberpunky, and you also get a sword too. I was at the very beginning of the game, and I couldn't figure out where to go, and I was like, uninstall. Like, I'm just not gonna play this anymore. And it already wasn't like that fun to shoot. Like, it was old school in a way that was kind of frustrating, like the frustrating kind of way that 90s games played, where you're like, this doesn't feels jarring to shoot. So it wasn't for me. Then I am still currently working through. I installed the F123 demo because it got it's like a trial, I guess. it got nominated for the Game Awards racing category. But not only that, because really you just need to be a racing game to be nominated for that. But I saw the reviews and I was like, holy crap, these scores are like on par with Forza. It's wild. It's like really high scores. So I downloaded it, and I don't know how long the trial is. I'm just going to wait until it says you can't play anymore. But graphically, it's an EA game, so it's not on par at all with GT or Forza whatsoever. It looks a little rough, honestly, but because it's F1, that's the appeal, I guess. And also, I got to credit them for doing a full campaign, like it's a full cinematic story mode, like you're watching a movie, like a documentary about your team. And that's pretty cool. But aside from that, I wasn't really feeling it, so I don't know. I'll just keep trying the trial, maybe see if the racing does feel different. But I ultimately don't expect to be adjusting the cars much. Yeah. But anyway, the last thing I want to mention was Street Fighter 6. I did download that. Oh, I got it for like $40. It's on sale right now on PS5. And I didn't really do much. I trained. I did the training thing. I created my silly looking avatar. He's
Can
a
you
guy
describe
with
how silly? Thank you.
Yes, he's got a pompadour with like shaved sides, and he's got a giant ass mustache. My
Jeff
hair
makes
color.
legendarily bad looking characters.
Yeah,
like, it's my
he's
favorite
got a small
thing.
head and big arms.
I know if I'm going to co-op with him, I know he's going to like create something where I'm like, well, I'm going to laugh at this movie.
I gave him an 80s cop movie name where it's like your partner. His name's Conklin.
Damn it, Conklin! Yeah, all right. Yeah,
Conklin.
Conklin usually dies in the first act of
dies.
those movies.
Conklin's like the partner of RoboCop that gets like really brutally murdered.
And at the end,
talk about him like in a.
At the end, he's brought back up again. Like, you're the one who killed Conklin. Like he's
exactly.
Conklin,
God damn it, Conklin, you're a loose cannon.
You're the one who killed Jeff Daniels in Speed, or whatever it was. Jeff Daniels, I think, lived in Speed, didn't he? He helped him locate Dennis Hopper. Anyway,
sure.
Oh, he gets blown up, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, they get blown up in the house later? Okay.
He gets blown up.
He dies later, but he's the handler.
Yeah.
For most of
So I thought for this whole
spoiler for Speed, by the way.
My memory of that movie was
he's like 30 years old.
My memory of that movie was Dennis Hopper killing him in the elevator. And then I rewatched the movie again, like in the last year, and I was like, he's still alive the whole time. Holy crap!
Yeah, he is. Can I just say? May I say? I love that movie.
Me too.
Great.
I think Speed is awesome. Yeah,
it's still great.
You know, it's even,
when you close your eyes, you're hearing Metal Gear Solid music because it's literally Harry Gregson Williams. So
it is. You're right.
That's all right.
Yeah,
I did not know
better,
that.
Dan. What's
it is literally Metal Gear.
Just...
That and The Rock are both just like Metal Gear Solid music. Or I guess Metal Gear Solid music is those, I guess, but.
I was gonna jokingly say Speed 2, but that's just not true.
We don't talk about that.
Yeah, we don't talk about Speed 2. Yeah.
Even Sandy B doesn't talk about that one. She was in it.
Not Keanu Reeves doesn't talk about that one either.
I have a feeling that she agreed to that, thinking Keanu would be on board too before reading the script, and then later realized it's her and Scott Speedman, right? Or no, who was it? Not Scott Speedman.
No, Jason Patrick.
Jason Patrick,
another one of those B movie guys. I don't know.
One of those guys who was on the precipice of getting big forever but never could break through.
Well, Scott Speedman was the vampire werewolf.
Underworld. Underworld guy. Yeah. I remember.
Oh, wait, hold on. That's
he
his
was the
actual
hybrid
name?
guy. He was the hybrid.
Oh yeah, Scott Speedman.
I mean, maybe not his birth name, but yes, that is his actor name. Yeah.
Well, because I was gonna say if Scott Speedman was in Speed 2, that's
that's why he got hired, Dan.
Jason Patrick. That's right.
That's how Michael Douglas says Scott Lang in Ant-Man movies. Scott.
I hope we.
So Street Fighter 6, by the way, I love the art style. I didn't really get a lot of fighting done, so I can't really speak to that. And I love that it's like, I mean, quite literally like a Yakuza-esque open world.
Yeah,
just
it is
running
like
around.
Yakuza, yeah.
And you can talk to anybody basically and get pointers.
Conklin likes to get around the city, man. You know.
Conklin, and he does look like a cop, so it's kind of perfect. The name, it's very much an 80s. Yeah. Damn it, Conklin! Give me your gun and your bag.
Get out there, Conklin!
You're a loose cannon, Conklin.
It's like
you and Conklin are out there stirring up stuff all the time.
One of my favorite, I should say, underrated episodes of How I Met Your Mother is the Barney going laser tag.
Oh, sure.
And the guy who runs the laser tag place talks to him like a Lethal Weapon boss.
Yeah.
Damn it!
It's so funny. Yeah. So funny. Yeah. Give me your laser tag badge or whatever it's.
Yeah, your membership badge and your laser gun, please. Yeah.
All right, Dan, what do you got, man? Wrap us up with some of your quick hits.
So I actually forgot to mention on the last episode, I finished Metal Gear Solid 1. So I finished that. Man, I am not good at that game. I'm again, because I started
It's hard,
the whole
dude.
series.
That game is old, man.
It is, but I don't have like the awareness of it because it's just not as ingrained in my mind as 2 is. Like 2 is the one that's mostly ingrained in my mind, and 3 like then would be the next one after that. Because I definitely played those 2 more than 1. But again, like everything that has already been said needs to be, or has needed to be said, has been said about Metal Gear Solid 1.
1's the only one I've finished multiple times. I finished it, I think, 3 times maybe. The rest of them have only
but such a great, like, it's just the atmosphere of that is just not the same as the other 2 games. So I mean, they're all very different, and I enjoy that very much about them. But yeah, it's just such a cool game. And man, the voice acting is just so fun.
It's good. It's good for its time, and it's still really corny too. Like they really nail into this like B movie campy vibe in that first game.
Like there's the one part when you're going up against Liquid in the helicopter. What the hell's that? The Hind D.
The Hind D. Yeah.
And like I kept having to do it because I was dying. And there's this one part when David Hayter, it's just the way he emphasizes certain words, and even my wife started laughing. He's just like, what? It's just the way he said it. I'm not doing it justice, but the way Snake says what at that one part when he's going back and forth with Liquid is just cracks me up. All he's saying is what, but it's just the way he's saying it is just so good. David Hayter.
Snake's also very horny in that game too. More horny than he is in the other 2 games. Yeah,
it's definitely the horniest Metal Gear Solid.
It's definitely the horniest Metal Gear Solid. Yeah.
I still just like the way he says Metal Gear. I'll always love that because it's almost like he's turning to the camera to wink to remind us the name of the game. Like, because there's a pause. There's a special pause every time.
Metal Gear. Actually, there was a quick little. There was like a little thing. I don't know if you saw, Kyle, or any of you. David Hayter taking a picture with a statue of Old Snake. Huh?
Yeah.
Something to come. A little something to.
I just want Metal Gear Solid 4. I don't. Yeah.
I know he tweeted something about how this is just the begining or something.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. But there was like a trailer thing that he did.
And I checked the numbers. It sold really well. So.
Okay.
I think we're okay. They're going to be okay.
Good. But yeah, Metal Gear Solid. Just anyone who's never played the series, please play Metal Gear Solid. It's fantastic. One of the greatest.
So good.
Also playing. I jumped back into. So my main thing right now is Baldur's Gate 3. I'm finally in Baldur's Gate 3. Like I put Starfield to the side because I feel like I can jump back into Starfield and not be confused, whereas Baldur's Gate has so many systems and things, mechanics going on that I was like, I don't want to go back to Baldur's Gate later. I'm not going to remember, and then I'd have to start over. So
makes sense.
Totally agree.
Yeah, but Baldur's
Where
Gate.
Where are you? Where? Just give me a little bit about where you are.
I think I'm still early on. I went into a place that had a bunch of goblins, just a crap
goblin camp.
Goblins,
okay.
And I murdered most of them.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. How did that play out? Did you just go there picking a fight, or did like a conversation fall through, or?
Well,
I stole a treasure, and a guard saw me, and then I had to kill everybody.
I love it. Yeah. That's how it works sometimes.
Well, you go inside the actual temple thing or whatever it is, and then there's a female goblin there, and I was talking to her, and then she brought me to another room, and she was like offering to remove the thing out of my head, which I was like, nah, I'm all set, and she was like, no, I'm gonna do it. Yeah. And I was like, no, I'm good. And she's like, well, I guess we're fighting then. So
yeah.
So that fight ensued. But like I think I died, or I just didn't like the way the fight. I'm pretty sure I died. So then I had like reloaded it. But then so basically what I ended up doing is, because that just didn't play out correctly, I went around the outskirts of that whole temple and like did little fights with like small groups. So it was because there's a lot of goblins in there.
Yeah,
like
100 goblins or something. Yeah,
they all add in. It's a pretty overwhelming fight.
Yeah. So basically I started like one side and kind of swooped around and did like several smaller fights. I didn't do the outside fight yet because there's goblins outside too. So I kind of still need to kill.
They're
them,
waiting
but
for you when you go out there. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But like it triggered basically like enough where it was like you took out the goblin camp, because then when I went back to whatever that is, the Grove or whatever. Yeah. They were all like, "Oh, hey, you saved us, like you helped us."
Did you save the druid and all that too, or?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Halson, right? Is it Halson?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
right.
Halson. Yeah. So he's like in my camp, like hanging out. So yeah, what a
Game's great, man. Yeah, it's a really dense game. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable. The
I'm
amount
not too
of
much
depth.
farther than that in my playthrough. I'm like going through the underground, whatever.
Underdark?
Yeah, the Underdark. That's where I am.
Dark,
Yeah.
Listen, that game is amazing and it deserves all the accolades. I still do not love when you're trying to do stealth the way that some of your characters can go into battle and some don't. Like it gets really awkward, especially in inside settings, like in that goblin camp, for example. There were just times where I was just like, this is so frustrating the way that I can't get the right character to join the battle and like know who's in charge, and like that was a little convoluted.
It takes a bit to learn how to ungroup people and how to, like, I still have a problem with that, and I'm 80 hours in the game, so I'm just happy that
I've left
most
the character
of my
way back on the map that I'm like,
that
where'd
can happen.
they go?
Sometimes they just don't even follow you. They're like, yeah, I don't know what to do. So there is that's why I'm happy that I'm playing with other people, because I don't run into that very often. But like the time I have played many hours on my single player, and I've run into similar problems where I'm just like, oh, I got to ungroup these people and couple these people and yada yada. And there's not a tutorial of how to do all that stuff. So
correct. Yeah, that's my only gripe with the game has been some of the things that make it an in-depth game where you can literally do whatever you want. That's awesome. But man, some of those things are just clunky to me. Playing single player, I'm like, ugh, I don't like that I have to, I don't know, do all this layer of depth of grouping and ungrouping, and I just didn't like that. Part of me just wants like, hey, if we're in a battle, let's just activate the battle for everybody. I understand some people are still hidden, but like, I don't know, that part does kind of bug me, but it's a very, very, very minor gripe and an overall amazing experience.
You want it to be like Fire Emblem Engage, where it's like, let's bring all 50 of these people with.
Where like the second you start a fight, everyone's just in it. Yeah?
And I don't mind. I don't
so
mind some people. I don't mind some people like still being hidden, but the idea that now they're literally still free to just explore, and they're not in combat mode, and there's certain things you can and can't do if you're not in combat mode. So like, I don't know. Part of that, I think it's just me being confused and not liking that.
Yeah, I think that you're still in the learning curve part of it. I think that like, I'm not saying it ever gets like less obtuse. You just kind of learn, and you're like, oh, this is how you do that, and then
it's more of me saying
it just becomes you, and it just becomes you tolerating it, you know, or not, you know. I guess it's not as tolerable.
I will say multi-level battles are frustrating for me too. That's the only other thing too. Like in that there's spiders down below. Do you guys get that part? And the goblin?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had like multi-level fights going on, and at least. Maybe I did the camera wrong. The camera was really giving me a hard time. Like, I could not really find it was really hard to like move to the right spot and attack the right person the way the camera was dying on the multi-levels. But that was it. Those are the only times I've had trouble.
Tim hates the game, confirmed.
As much as you hate Zelda, so.
What do I hate? Do me next. Do me.
You hate that one game. Hold on, let it come to me. Hogwarts Legacy. You hate it.
I don't hate that game though. Yeah.
Nope. Too late. That's narrative.
You hate it.
That's the narrative. Don't do me. Don't do me.
The last main thing I just did was the hags. I don't know if I went into the.
That's a good. Did you fight her or?
Yes.
This is not spoiler. You can do 1,000 different things. So like, I don't think that.
Oh, absolutely fought her because she's gross and she needs to die. So
yeah, she really tricks you. Yeah, it's really some Hansel and Gretel shit going on there.
Yeah. So that shit's pretty dark, but
a little Witcher-esque.
Very Witcher. Very Witcher mission. Absolutely. Yeah.
And then the next thing is just Super Mario 64. I had hopped back into that before starting Mario RPG. I completely forgot that there's a 7th star in every level. You got to get 100 coins in every level, and you get the additional star. So I went through all the levels, not remembering that. So I'm having to go back and do that. So I'm at 107 stars. So I'm getting close. 13 more stars.
Dedication right there.
So that's my progress.
You don't have to do that. You just said I'm having to do that. You don't have to do that.
No, I don't have to, but I mean, I'm doing my goal.
Sure, Tim, and I didn't have to get all the items in my Metal Gear Solid 2 run either.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
here we are.
Didn't have to. Okay.
Exactly. You don't gotta catch them all in Pokemon. I mean,
Yeah,
right. And then there's just the last thing again. I know I bring this up every time, but like this arc that I am in One Piece is amazing. It's just so.
Is it the same
so
arc?
Good.
Or?
Well, so it's like 2 arcs. Like what the Water 7 arc that I mentioned, that I was like, oh shit, like there's like more serious themes going on than the jokey themes. It's basically like morphed into this other arc because one of the crew members basically got kidnapped. Like, not really, they basically like forced her hand because of her past, and you finally find out about her past, and it's actually pretty effed up. It's like super effed up. So they kind of like force her hand to make her help them for a particular task. And then there's this new character that shows up that I think is going to join the crew, and he's also tied into like their scheme. It's like the world government is basically trying to do some shady shit. So yeah, you basically end up going to like their headquarters is what the crew they're chasing after the crew that kidnapped her and the Frankie guy, the new guy that I think is going to join the crew. So they basically like took them to like their headquarters, and they chased after them. And Luffy basically is like essentially going like Super Saiyan 1 is what's happening, Kyle.
Okay,
like
I understand the reference. Yeah.
For so it's pretty exciting. It's basically the Frieza saga. Like, this is the Frieza saga. So
okay, yeah, 1,000 episodes in, you're doing the Frieza saga. That's cool. Yeah.
1,000 episodes in.
270 right now. I'm at
so you said it kind of gives way to another, and this might be
It's
inside
a lot.
baseball for you guys, sorry, but like you said it kind of gives way to different saga. Is that not unlike how the Android saga just suddenly becomes the Cell saga, like how one gives way to another?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, because
that's a good shonen anime trick where you merge or marry 2 different like major arcs. Cool.
Basically watching the headquarters is called Eni's Lobby. So the Eni's Lobby arc, like if you just jumped into that, wouldn't make sense if you didn't watch the Water 7 arc.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Super rad, and I'm just having a good time. So
Nice. All right, guys.
We'll check in with you on that in 10 years and see how far you are into the show.
He's on episode 300.
Yeah.
10 years.
Gosh, that's so many. That's so many. Well, this coming week is a little bit quieter. It's not like there's nothing coming out. There's always going to be a surprise game or like some DLC that we forgot. Oh yeah, that's arriving. But things do start to quiet down a bit now that Super Mario RPG and Persona 5 Tactica are out. Lots of catching up to do, so I'm sure we'll be catching you guys up on what we're playing in the future weeks. We'll also do our predictions probably in 2 weeks. What is the date? Yeah, I think we'll do it the episode right before the Game Awards. We'll do our predictions for
that works.
For the show. But thank you guys for watching and listening. Really appreciate it. We obviously just do this for fun. We're not getting paid even a little bit. So we just like getting together and talking games. So I hope you guys enjoy it too.
YouTube gets paid, that's for sure.
YouTube definitely gets paid. Thanks.
Their own ads.
But yeah, appreciate you guys being here. We'll see you next time. Bye.